Welcome back to the Opposition Podcast. I hope you're all having a lovely night. Rukshan, for you, daytime in Sri Lanka on holiday, being consistent. Thank you for joining us. How is it there? What's the
No,
weather like?
good to be in here. It's bloody hot today. It's pretty humid and hot. Just had lunch, bit of nice curry, and just enjoying myself. There's
Wow, I'm
like mango
shocked.
trees.
I'm shocked.
There's all types of fruit trees everywhere. So you just take the mango off the tree and you make the chutney and stuff. So it's all very fresh and wholesome. So enjoying my time, and I've got all like my
I'm sure, like the rest of the audience, I'm absolutely shocked that you had curry for lunch.
It is a staple here, so
Really?
you got to have curry. I mean, it's pretty much staple, yeah. Rice and curry, like people have it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I'm joking. We
Obviously,
know, isn't it? Like Indian, it's the same.
it's similar, yeah. There's variations, obviously, but it's the most staple type of food for sure.
All right, we have a packed show tonight. I'm actually enjoying this show where we're just smashing out the biggest stories of the day between the two
Yeah,
of us. It's a bit easier than having to carry someone through an interview. I think we're going to have guests, but we'll have them in for little bit segments instead of
yeah,
through the whole show. But this is fun. I just want to get a few things out of the way from the comments that we need to confront straight up off the
that's
bat
been
here.
pretty funny. Yeah,
Firstly, I don't know. Oh, yeah, they're going up there now. Avi's always on his mobile. I know you corrected your his in the next comment, but the point is, the reason why I'm on my mobile in that 10-minute countdown, which we've now trying to bring before the 7 o'clock start, so we actually
yeah,
start as close to 7, so it collects all the people. But I'm doing what you should be doing at home, sharing the live stream with on the different platforms. So either retweeting it or just sharing the link on YouTube or whatever. So
mm,
instead of commenting your observations of my personal habits, you should have
sharing
been
it out.
there sharing the tweet. So just clearing the air on that one. And the second one that I find absolutely ridiculous, verified. I
Mate,
can't take
this
another minute.
I agree. I agree. I'll
What, the
read this. I
ticker?
can't take another. Yeah, I can't take another minute of this. I'm going insane. Someone said it's like a bomb counting down till like a bomb goes off, which might be apt based on some of the topics that we discuss on this show. But it is a bit annoying. But what do we replace it with, guys? Music. Sometimes people find music annoying. It's really hard to find that
No, and we got
balance
and we
between
got done, and we got done for music one time for
copyright
copyright,
strike.
even though it was
Yeah,
legitimately sourced royalty-free
it's
music.
so annoying.
So it's a pain. We've got the tick. But it just gave me a good idea. If people think there's a bomb at the end of it, maybe that transition sound when we come on should be a bomb.
Boom. It explodes and we're on screen.
But we'll take your feedback as usual into account. Again, we found that the rolling comments on YouTube below at the bottom of the screen there in the center there, was really good last time. So we're going to keep it going. Try
Yeah,
keep them clean. If we have trolls that are really ruining that space, we may have to ban them. That's the beauty of the power of the button here. So don't abuse it, but have your say. Every comment gets posted there on YouTube only. So that's on Rukshan or my YouTube. On the left-hand side, that's Rukshan's YouTube. On the right-hand side, so below me is my YouTube live chat that you're seeing there. Now, for those of you who want to support what we're doing here, enjoy the show, throw a super chat in. So that helps us keep the lights on. That supports, either Rukshan's channel or my channel. Super chat away, and we will read every single super chat throughout the show. So
definitely.
go in there and super chat away. Make sure, as usual, hit the like and share button. But without anything, have you got any announcements before we get into the news today?
No announcement. Someone said to generate an AI song, and I've actually done that before. I've generated like an AI song, and even that got a copyright strike. It was so
No.
weird. So, yeah, these companies which are doing all these things, they try to kind of copyright everything that comes through their platform. So, unless you're kind of creating it yourself or you're getting an artist to create it, somehow they manage to, put that into some sort of system. So, we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Obviously,
We
maybe
we
there's a musician out. Maybe there's a musician out there watching
in
this
the
show right
audience.
now that wants, in the audience that wants to put together a little intro for us. Who knows?
One condition. It's got to have
know
a
the condition.
ticking to it.
I thought you said it's got to be free.
Oh, I didn't think I have to say that. I think
That's a given.
That's a given. Mate, do I have to stipulate that? Come on. All right. Where do we start? Let's start where we left off in the last episode, before we get into the exciting news of the week, which everybody here is here tonight to celebrate with us. Let's pick up where we left off last week, and that is our friend Greta Thunberg. Because something that was interesting. So when last week, when we not last week, 2 days ago, Tuesday night, as we were doing the show, she was on the flight. We had, the last part of that story was her getting deported, was that sad photo. Now, once we'd finished, this was the images of Greta Thunberg, as we've now learned is how you pronounce it. This was her when she arrived in France. So as you can see, she's being escorted by a couple of cops there. There's Greta, and it looks like an immigration agent or something with her. Now, the point of this image, why it's important to look at it, is because as you can see, notice, before she walks around that corner, her hands are by her side.
Yeah.
This was picked up by the internet. And then we're going to watch the video as from the frame that this is taken. So as soon as she's noticed the army of reporters or photographers there, so the journalist capturing the moment, watch closely. So she's suddenly now got her hands behind her back, acting like she's handcuffed. And it goes to exactly what you were saying in the last episode. It's performative.
It's all theatrical, performative. I mean, I don't think a girl her age walks around like that normally. Like back in the 1700s, 1600s, you had these kind of landowners and these images of people walking around with their hands behind their back, very serious, scholars, things like this. So clearly, she's put that behind her back for a photo op.
Who's done that before? Somebody else has done that. I think it's actually like Ilhan Omar or one of those.
I think it was one of them. Yeah, during one of those protests.
Isn't that funny?
It was one of the squad.
It's the same kind of personality. It's all for attention, and they're realizing this is a moment. I wanted to capture it, and I'm not lying. I'm just putting my hands behind my back. If you come to the conclusion, assuming because I'm surrounded by police that I'm being detained and this is all very intense, then that's on you. But and the other point, like you're right, maybe what was in the 1800s they walked around like that, but the point is she clearly wasn't walking like that, because the first frame captured as she's turning the corner is with her hands by her side. So she's realized and she's made a conscious decision, and the internet picked her up on that. Now, next is where, let's watch a bit of, I'm not going to watch all of it because I think it goes for a bit of time, but let's watch what she said as she came out.
We're just going to take away from Deborah explaining all about her exciting new podcast to these images of Greta Thunberg, who is arriving in Paris. Looks like she's going to speak to the media. Let's have a listen.
Greta, would you tell us how Natasha Barlow from Al Jazeera. Tell us what it's like.
Al Jazeera.
And how was it the last few hours?
We were, on international waters. We were illegally attacked and kidnapped by Israel and taken against our will to Israel, where we were detained, and then some of us deported, some are still there. There are very big uncertainties because it was quite chaotic and uncertain, so I don't really know what's going on. I haven't had a phone for many days.
What were the conditions for you over the last few hours?
Let's just point out why she didn't have a phone. Remember the images of them throwing their phones overboard. But how disgusting and vile to double down on the kidnap story.
She's doubled down. It's kind of all in her head. And it's strange to me that she might have not picked up on some of the clues of everyone else kind of rejecting her story about the kidnapping and thinking it's a bit tasteless. But no, she's actually doubled down on it.
In her defense, she may not have seen it, really. She probably hadn't seen the world's reaction.
Actually, that's a possibility.
Because she didn't have a phone.
That's a possibility. Okay, Greta, I give you that much.
No, but
she really believes that. She really believes it.
She doesn't believe it. She's a fraud. She's pretending, but she's going along with the story. Remember, because the video that they filmed, the video that they uploaded was pre-filmed prior to the army, to the Israeli forces boarding. So they didn't know what was actually going to happen, but they pre-recorded it and they quickly pressed publish and they threw their phones overboard. So in that case, you could say, she didn't know what happened. She didn't know really, like, if they were going to be detained, arrested, jailed, whatever. So, fine. She was kidnapped. But now, she knows she wasn't kidnapped. She was detained, fed, with a smile.
That's what I mean. Like, how can she kind of reconcile the activities that happened to her with being taken off the boat, taken to Israel, pretty much within 24 hours, put on a plane, sent to France with food, whatever, coming off the plane as a free woman, walking into a press conference? That is not your typical kidnapping experience. Like, that is not how you get kidnapped.
And forget about the typical one. In the context of the Israel-Hamas war, that this conflict that started on October 7, it all started with actual kidnapping.
Yes.
And to use that, I know we said it last time, but to use it in the pre-record was bad enough. But to come back and double down after they treated you so well and just sent you back home is even more insane. And it just shows how full of it they are.
100%. I think there's more to this, right?
Absolutely nothing compared to what people are going through in Palestine, especially Gaza right now. And this is yet another international a violation of international, countless of such, especially towards Palestinians, that Israel are committing by blocking and preventing humanitarian aid from entering Gaza. That is illegal.
I have to stop it again, because the point is, she's like saying that is nothing in comparison to what the Palestinians are going through, which is true. Absolutely. It is nothing in comparison to what the Palestinians are going through. But you just used the word kidnap. So why not mention the hostages? Why not mention the struggle that they've gone, they've had 600 or something days as actual hostages since they were really kidnapped. You spent less than 24 hours in Israel, I think, and you were fed and you were smiling and you were treated well, and you're still calling it kidnap without even recognizing the people that are really kidnapped. It's infuriating.
It's frustrating to watch.
It shows that everything about these people's activism, not just on Israel, but the climate and everything. She's the biggest fraud. They are all fraudsters. They are professional activists who jump on the latest, thing, and they're grifting off it. Like, she's made it all about her. This had nothing to do with Palestine. This was all about her loving the fact that she's the center of the story, no?
No, 100%. And I can see her kind of transitioning now to the next thing, because there's going to be something else, right? And she will want to be the center of that as well. So she sees herself as this kind of savior, that her profile, that she can insert herself into any issue, and she, becomes kind of like the alpha in the room amongst all those other kind of, loopy activists that exist as well, right? They all gravitate towards her as well. And I think we'll see some footage later on, Avi, if you're going to play that, where there is kind of this kind of, welcome parade for her.
Yeah, we'll get to it. Yeah, I think it comes up at the end of.
Where the adoring fans are, and Greta, she's gone and she's done this brave thing. Now she's back. She's safe from the kidnapping at the hands of the IDF and Israel, and they're almost putting wreaths on her. She's kind of this idolized person within that activist community. So I can see her easily transitioning. As a useful idiot, like some of the comments are mentioning, we see her that way, but she's a useful idiot for these causes because she brings that high profile thing. It's like, Greta Thunberg is caring about this issue, so it means it's a worthy activist issue for this side of politics. So they'll use her as much as possible, and I think she's happy to be that tool, and this is her career now.
Do you remember? Do you remember? Because I was just pulling it up while we were doing this. Do you remember when Greta Thunberg got in 2019. Here we go. 2019. She got caught out wearing. Can you see that on the screen? The Antifa T-shirt. You can see Antifa T-shirt, and there was this whole controversy, and I can't remember if she I don't know if she apologized, but she really backpedaled on it at least. I don't know if she apologized, but it was like pretending back then that they weren't just Antifa. They weren't these professional activists that were going to end up. This was her the future of her entire adult life. This is how they were molding her as a kid. It was clear. The red flags were there from the beginning. Anyways, let's keep watching it because there's a fair bit, unless you want to add a comment to it.
No, I was going to say, I also read recently that she has a sister that apparently changed her last name to not be associated with it. Like, that's what I heard. There's another Thunberg that's apparently younger sister that's apparently changed her last name. So I just saw that. I don't really follow this family that much.
I am going to fact check you in real time.
You can fact check me, but apparently the thing on the internet is, again, allegedly, I don't know if 100%, but apparently the sister wants to distance herself from that name because she doesn't want to be associated with this nutbag. And fair enough, because her whole life has become this kind of tragic activist story where everything's the end of the world. Climate change is the end of the world. What's happening in Israel, Gaza is almost like the end of the world. It's apocalyptic for her, and everyone has to buy her story. But you're finding more and more people
Thunberg.
Hold on. Yeah.
Greta Thunberg has a younger sister named Berta.
Berta
Enman, who was born in 2005. So that would make her 20 years. So she's the younger sister yet by a couple of years. Beta has pursued a career in performing arts, including singing, acting, and modelling. She's adopted her mother's surname and the stage name B to establish her own identity separate from her sister's high-profile activism. Beta has cultivated a stylish and often provocative social media presence, amassing 10,000 Instagram followers. She has addressed political themes through her music. But despite their different paths, the sisters have supported each other.
Okay.
Beta has attended early climate protests that's why I wouldn't believe that.
Yeah, I think maybe they just call it going by the fact she didn't want to have the same surname.
Yeah, well, I have that same story, but I think in her chance, in her case, I just would find it hard to believe because the parents were Antifa activists the whole time. That's the thing. With all these activists, when they have activist kids, you have to look at the parents. No matter what issue. Because the kids are only attracted to that generally either from the parents or from a school that's overreaching, like a teacher that's overreaching and that's pushing an agenda, right? But kids don't rock up to climate protests on their own. Kids don't rock up to anti-Israel protests on their own. Like, I remember that Roman whatever who was debating me on the street, and he's like, and I go, why is the whole Islamic community, there is a thing, like they're obsessed with Israel. Why, when you have all these other conflicts in the Middle East, are they? He goes, I've cared about Palestine since I was 10 years old. And I didn't think about it in the moment. I'm like, yes, that's my point, is why at 10 years old, you, as a kid, were so invested, as an Afghani kid, he's Afghani. Why were you so invested in what was going on in Israel and Palestine? It's because it's being you're being indoctrinated young, and that goes for trans activists. Like, you look at what's the animal justice guy? Remember from the Victorian Parliament, Andy Medic. He has two kids. They're both trans, and he's a trans activist. He has two trans kids. He had a daughter and a son, and he still has a daughter and a son, but they've both swapped. How does that happen?
Well, to that point, all of Hollywood, almost all of these Hollywood celebrities, they somehow have managed to get a trans kid. Now, how does it happen? How does all of Hollywood end up with a trans kid all of a sudden? Like, it didn't happen, 10, 20 years ago, but now it's like, hey, look, we have these kids, and one of them is trans, maybe two of them is trans, and you've seen it happen. Look, you have it might not always be the parents. You saw it happen to Elon Musk very publicly with his son or daughter, whatever's going on there.
But
So
I said it
there's-
can be schools, it can be other environments,
Yeah,
it
there
can
is
be
other
social
elements as
media,
well.
it can be social media. But I'm saying,
Yeah.
like, if you have two kids that are trans and you're an activist, I think I can draw, I can come to a conclusion that your activism played some sort of role.
Yeah.
If you're a super climate change person, if you're Antifa and your kids are suddenly going to all the climate protests and not going to skipping school to protest, or suddenly doing anti-Israel, like, it's clear that you're the one that's driving it. It hasn't just naturally come from kids. The Elon's kid, and there's probably, like, today there's a lot of kids that have gone down like Elon's kid that are being encouraged by social media, by peer. It became cool at school, and that's another problem. They're taking away the power from the parents.
Yeah. And when we were younger, Avi, like, there were still those elements there, like learning about the climate and the earth and stuff like this. But it was like things like recycling and things like this, right? And even at home, your parents might talk to you about things like recycling or nothing at all. So over periods of time, where look at the generation of kids growing up today, can you imagine what they'll be teaching their children at home, especially if they're grown up in this current environment? So I think it gets worse, these things, unless there's some type of stop put to it. Kind of like what we're seeing in America with Trump and his executive orders around stopping boys from being in women's sports.
Yeah.
So unless there's kind of hard resets within society, gradually this becomes more and more pervasive, and you have more and more kids and children acting out like this, and getting involved in things like climate change and wars and things like this. And I'm not saying kids shouldn't learn about these things or whatever, like a war and stuff like this, but the level at which they're involved in it, they're directly using children to try to sway people's opinions on these topics. Climate change maybe kind of makes sense in the sense that,
it's our future.
It's their future.
That's what they've always said.
That's what they play on, right? Wars and stuff, like picking sides in a conflict that children would have no idea about, right and wrong and history and all these type of things and all the complexities that are involved in that. It's a lot different. So that's where I think the line has to be drawn in the educational facilities, and also, of course, by parents. But more and more, we're seeing parents encourage kids to be involved in activism at a very young age.
Let's read these quick super chats and go back to watching our hero Greta spew her nonsense. There you go. First super
Riot,
chat
thanks
of the
for
night.
the super chat. Can't afford much, but poly pay rises. Thoughts. So I think Anthony Albanese, a few Canberra politicians, I can't remember the exact percentage, but
2.5, I think.
Okay, yeah. So they are getting a couple of grand more, or 10, 20K more on their pay packet, and
Insane.
it does feel like a kick in the guts, doesn't it? Like, we always hear politicians, whether it's state or federal, they always have these negotiations that happen and these pay rises that happen, and when you're sitting at home struggling to pay the power bill and all the other expenses that you have, and you haven't got really a decent pay rise, they do talk about all this kind of artificial stuff that they do to help the economy, but really no one sitting at home who's been working at a job for like the last 10 years is going to get like a 2.5% pay rise.
No.
Most people won't get that, right? That doesn't happen unless you get a promotion. So
Exactly.
It sucks, and you hear about it and it sucks, and for whatever reason, like, it's all done very publicly, these things, but the politicians try to kind of brush it all aside and move on. So
it's disgusting. Most of us, and me including me, we've essentially took a pay cut because I don't get paid more, but my expenses have gone up. So it's actually harder to get by nowadays. But these guys, they always sort themselves out. It's disgusting, and it wasn't always like that. And they used to never get even pensions, like big pensions at the end of their. Now they get massive pay. They get like well paid, rises every couple of years, and then massive pensions. It's disgusting, and we pay for it.
Yeah, there's variations on it. Look, I personally believe that to have the best politicians and you want good people in leadership, it has to be an attractive job. There are parts of the job that I believe takes a toll on these people's lives, definitely, and they should be well paid for it. I think the issue here is that the output that we get as a general public doesn't feel like they're doing their jobs. There's not that kind of, like, it doesn't feel like they're working, like sometimes you see these politicians and it's like, you've been there for 30 years, you're still harping on about the same thing. What have you done? Like, why are you still there? So you want to attract the best. You want to have good pay packets for them, and you don't want them to go off and work at a bank or something as a CEO. You want them maybe working as a finance minister or the treasurer because they're really good with numbers. So you got to be able to attract these people, but it just doesn't work out in a society where the politicians really don't feel like they're pulling their weight. I think people would be really happy to pay them even double or triple if their lives were also good. Yeah.
But there's two ways to look at it, and it's interesting because there's a Jewish concept that I think is about governance as well. I don't know if it's the judicial system, but I think it's also like the political class. The idea is that you have to pay them decently so that they don't get tempted to be corrupted. Because if you go to like corrupt countries and you don't pay your cops, for example, so that's why it's so corrupt and so easy. I remember in Argentina, it was I was told to carry $10 in my pocket because that's how you get away with anything. You can drive illegally as a 15-year-old as long as you had $10 in your pocket. That's the way it was, right? So there's that side of it. There's also the side of it, like if you want to attract people that are actually skilled, then you got to pay them well. But we're not getting that. We're getting the worst kind of people that have turned it into an entire industry, a political industry, instead of grabbing the brightest minds and the best, hardest working, the most passionate people about our country. We're attracting people who want to make a career out of living, sucking off the taxpayer teeth.
Public teeth. Yeah. I mean, it's become the career politician, the pathway to becoming a career politician, like the whole system, the way it's set up. The types of people that these kind of major parties try to attract. Yeah, it's not inclusive, I don't think so, of the wide range of types of people, especially like if you're looking at people from like farming backgrounds and business backgrounds. It doesn't usually include them as much, besides like maybe the nationals or people in the regional areas. It always tends to be these art students or lawyers or finance guys and girls that end up, and they might not have these real world experiences because they go into that system straight out of university. They started in the young political party movements or in the unionists. So they're in this kind of bubble and they don't really interact with the rest of the public. Yeah. So the things that they say don't really gel with people. And a perfect example is in Victoria, we had Daniel Andrews for so long as the Premier of Victoria. And I don't think he's ever been a part of the real world.
Yeah.
He's always been a political guy, the political machine type thing that's always swallowed him up and spit him out. And he was just horrific for our state. And Jacinta Allen, I believe, is very similar. And these people are very bad managers of the state of Victoria. Our finances, we're in so much debt. So there is something to that people that are ending up in that position without that real world experience are really struggling. And the opposite of that, I believe, my personal belief, is someone like a Donald Trump. He does things differently and all these kind of things. And that's because he comes from a business background. He's built businesses, he's built things. You might not like the way he does things, but at least some people at a certain level can understand why he's doing those things, because there's lots of real world examples of why people would behave in that manner. So I think we've kind of gone a bit off track, but Greta Thunberg, that's a new name. Thanks, Catherine.
Thank you. Well, listen, the people that the people that give us super chats, they earn the right to send us off track. Speaking of, Brett, thank you for the super chat.
Evening, chaps. Avi, are you visiting London in September? Ooh.
I like how Brett just puts that on me. Rukshan, are you going to commit to coming with me?
Oh, that is the plan. It's the plan. It's going to be a big September in London.
There's a lot. I got to say this. There's a lot of big people I know who are going in September to London. So I'll say, Brett, I don't know. Are you there? Hopefully see you there. But thanks for the super chat. And the last one for now.
That's the dark horse. Thanks, mate, for the super chat. When the left tells you that they want to destroy Western civilization, believes them. Yeah, I agree with that. They're not pretending. They're not lying. They're telling you exactly what they want to do very openly. Like, you can't turn around and be like, oh, we had no idea that they were planning to do this. On so many topics and so many issues, they say exactly what they want to do. So when it comes to something like Australia, when they say that they want to deconstruct the Australian identity and that Australia, doesn't exist as a country, they're not just saying that because it sounds nice. They truly believe that, and they would like to implement things that make that so. So we have to believe them explicitly when they say those things, because that's what they believe.
Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't They don't need to hide it. Look at the Labor Party. They say all this stuff and then they get re-voted in because most people don't believe them. So I think you're absolutely true, and we need to start believing him and taking him seriously. There's just one more shout out to Klaus. Thank you for that super chat too. Guys, it's you guys that make this possible. We'll get back to super chats once we go a few more minutes of watching Greta. Let's continue with Greta's little discussion.
Israelis treat you. We saw them giving out sandwiches on their social media. How did
Yeah, they probably have posted lots of PR stunt videos. As I said, I have not seen anything. But they did an illegal act by kidnapping us on international waters and against our will, bringing us to Israel.
I want to point out the propaganda shots that they posted and ran was the video of them giving it and her smiling like she was in love. The Israelis propaganda, because the Israelis, Jews are so good and powerful that they're able to make her smile against her will. And you're not talking about somebody who knew she was this was at the height of when she thought she was in trouble. Remember, this was at the beginning of the alleged kidnapping, and she was smiling like she wanted to marry the guy.
But if I get kidnapped, I want to get kidnapped by the Jews. So I want my sandwiches, I want my food, my flight tickets, everything taken care of. If you can arrange my kidnapping by the Mossad or IDF, I'll be very happy. I'll get a fee along the way and send back somewhere.
I got to point out that's the most the Jews gave away for free. She got free food, free flight, free travel, free everything. They should have just spun the boat around and go. Made them go back. Anyways, let's keep watching our friend live.
Us in the bottom of the boat, not letting us getting out and so on. But that is not the real story here. The real story is that there is a genocide going on in Gaza and a systematic starvation following the siege and blockade now, which is leading to food, medicine, water that
all
are
the same
needed to get into Gaza.
So I'm just fast forwarding
doing so. But of course, there are many attempts like this mission, both by sea and land, to break that siege and open up a humanitarian corridor.
Could I ask you, you said you had no contact at all with any of your other colleagues in the boat when you were detained? Is that what you said?
No, that's not what I said. I was just mainly speaking. I don't know what's going on.
You don't know what's going on with the others?
Are you worried about the
I wasn't
others?
able to say goodbye.
Are you worried about the others, that they might be detained for any length of time?
Yeah, I'm very worried about them. We heard many different messages pointing towards that they would not make it easy. And there were troubles with being able to...
I don't know if the rumors are true, because apparently Greta signed the deportation order. It's a bit like bail, when you sign bail to get out. And remember, in COVID, some activists just signed and agreed to the terms, and others refused on principle to agree to whatever it was. I think I remember the one that during COVID was one that a lot of the activists refused to sign, was abiding by the Cho directions, because then they were able to use the bail. Anyways, and that's similar to what's here. And apparently there's like anger amongst the activists that she agreed and signed because the other ones were doubling down.
She folded. If that's true, she folded straight away. It's like she was itching to sign the document. You know, she signed it straight away, and adios. She got on the flight and she left, and she's still.
And I reckon I know why too, because I think she is drawn to the attention, and obviously in Israel she wasn't getting fed that. That need to feel her need of attention, and she knew as soon as she lands back home, she's, or in her head at least, she's the god, and the media is treating her like a god. So I feel like she just was rushing to get back, so wasn't going to be principled on anything because she wanted to get back and have this moment in the spotlight.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Lawyers. So I'm very much calling for their immediate release and calling for everyone who can to mobilize to their governments and other ways to demand their immediate release. And of course to demand not only humanitarian aid being let into Gaza, but also a ceasefire, but most importantly an end to the occupation and an end to the systemic oppression and violence that Palestinians are facing on an everyday basis.
Are you disappointed you didn't manage to break the blockade?
I don't know if disappointed is the right word. This is a continued violation of international law and war crimes that Israel are systematically committing against Palestinians by not letting aid come in, by starving people.
What do you mean is she disappointed? She got exactly what she set out to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's the funniest questions. They always throw her softball questions, not just about this, about climate change as well. If you remember at the World Economic Forum when Rebel actually gently
Prodded her.
Yeah, and if you listen, like there's like a 20-minute walk with her, and when you listen to the questions from Rebel as opposed to like the mainstream media, they just throw her these like softball questions that essentially give her the answer. Like in this case, it's like, are you disappointed you didn't break the blockade? And it's funny because she's not even saying no. I'm not, because she is.
Well, she's like a protected species for the mainstream media. They handle her with kid gloves, literally. They still think she's a kid, but she's not a kid anymore. And you're seeing a lot more vitriol put towards her, and a lot of people calling her out now because, she's fair game in the sense of her nonsense can be called out. You can't just put it to the innocence of being a dumb teenager.
She's 22 now. She's 22. I know she looks the same. She is a full-grown adult. Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Well, if you can consider me a full-grown adult, I think she's probably my height.
Yeah, she's your
mass slaughtering in every possible way during a live stream, full-blown genocide that the world is watching.
How do you feel about the European government?
All the buzzwords.
And what they're doing and not doing?
Yeah, both in
We should
our
flick to
case,
the part where
their
they're
silence
greeting her.
was complicity with.
Oh yeah, we don't need to see all that. So we saw all the funny bits. Let's just see where.
Nonsense.
Yeah. Good idea. Is it on this
She
video?
talks for so long.
Oh yeah, here it is. I think it's here.
Yeah, here we go. The welcoming.
Let's slow it down though. Let's enjoy every moment of her little. Let's enjoy it as much as she enjoyed it.
Defend that. It is impossible, but still they are desperately trying, which is. Vi seglade med humanitär nödhjälp på internationellt vatten där vi blev
We'll just step away from Greta Thunberg.
Actually, I'll pull it up. It's probably on another. Because it's actually not at the end of that one. I thought it was.
Okay. No, that's all right.
No, you got to see. I think it's important for people to.
Some of the comments saying Greta is taller than Avi. So, yeah, it's possible. She might be taller than you, mate.
Mate, don't read them unless they are
Super chats.
Super chats. Don't give
Someone
them
says
attention.
Rukshan wants Avi to move on. Look, guys, I didn't want to spend the first hour of this show today as well. First hour dedicated to Greta Thunberg. I mean, that's 2 shows in a row.
Here we go. This is her. This is what you were talking about.
Here we go. Home hero returns.
Målet med resan var att the goal of the trip was to get to Gaza and distribute emergency aid. But of course, we were aware of the risks involved, and we have done many risk assessments.
Genom att
by taking over a boat in international waters and taking it against
I just want to see here. This is what she did it for.
Yeah. The circus.
The circus, the flowers, and if you watch that actual video, which is what you were talking about, and what you were asking me if it was at the end of that video, I thought it was at the end of that video, was how, she was surrounded and they put a keffiyeh on her and they gave her flowers and you just saw how much she was like loving every moment of it, because that is what it's really about. And anybody, even if you're anti-Israel, anyone who is fooled by that is either dishonest with themselves or you're a complete idiot. Because it's so transparent, it's so obvious what's going on there. All right. Let's move on. Let's read these couple of super chats and we'll go on to the exciting news of the night. Firstly, we have Brett.
Booked lads for the UK. We'll have another beer together. Gin and tonic for Rukshan. There we go.
Oh,
mate.
Look at that. Somebody knows.
Knows my drink of choice, the Sri Lankan drink of choice, gin and tonic. There you
I'll
go.
just say, Brett, you could have just said gin and tonic for the ladies. I'm just pointing that out. But yeah, looking forward to a beer in Londonistan.
Londonistan, that's it.
Have you been there?
We went to Arc. I met you there at Arc as well.
Oh, that's right. You were at Arc.
Jordan Peterson, all that.
I probably
didn't
notice you because you fit right into Londonistan. Everybody looks like you.
If you're going to London, you're going back home to my people, bro. That's like you're going back to the South Asia if you're going to London, man.
It's seriously, when you arrive in London, it feels like you're landing in somewhere like Islamabad. You don't, honestly, when we arrive, you'll see the first Englishman you'll meet is the black cabbie.
Yeah.
I always catch black cabs. They're the best.
They're awesome. They're so good. But you're so right. Like, it's literally like you can't tell you're in London until you meet someone that speaks with a British accent very fluently.
Thanks for the super chat, Regina.
Regina Ghibli, thank you. $10 for your pocket. Thanks, Regina. I appreciate it.
Needed
so much.
Needed. There's our 2.5% pay rise.
That's 1,000 rupees.
And Giovanni's back. G'day, Giovanni. He's one of our most loyal supporters.
Yeah. Thanks, mate. Greta Thunberg flipped me from pro-Gaza to pro-Israel. I don't know if that's a serious comment, but maybe it might have
like I said,
some people's eyes.
Like I said in the last show, I think it was the best piece of PR Israel has had for a long while. Okay, let's go back to the next story of the night, the one that everybody is really excited about.
Great to have you here. We begin tonight, of course.
Wait, 1 second, let me just turn up that thing so we don't get in trouble for the music. Boom. Let's watch.
We begin tonight with some big news.
Yes, we do. Fantastic. Uh-oh.
What's that for?
Oh, I think I got the tone wrong. Was that? Oh, it's not. All right. Okay. Well, what am I going to do with this one? It cost me $19.
You really missed that meeting. That was a shame. No, we are here to announce. Are you right there?
I'm all right.
Typical project style.
It should take us off air.
After 16 years and nearly 4,500 episodes, the project will very soon be no more. It's a huge move for everybody.
What my first appearance on this show was as a Dave Hughes funny. I fell over during a media scrum outside court, but I am so grateful that I got to sit on this desk and play TV with all of you. It's been such a fun thing to do, but it's the people who make a show, and the project isn't just the people on this desk. It's the cast and crew behind the scenes. They are the real stars. I'm talking, the producers, the editors, the cameramen and women, the comedy writers, the floor crew, the people in the control room, the director, the hair and makeup team, all of them who work their guts out every single night, 6 nights a week to get us there.
Truly amazing what everyone does.
We don't just mean now, people who've worked on this show over 16 years is an incredibly long period of time for a TV show. It's a huge success to pull that off. And so many people have contributed to that. They all do a fantastic job. For example, Kim is operating camera 3 right now. And look, it's a great shot. She's doing a wonderful job. This is the way things work. A huge shout out to our viewers, though, as well.
What viewers?
This isn't goodbye. We'll see you again.
That's the reason why they're cutting it.
But I know, and everyone who's worked on this show knows that these are the best viewers in Australia. They respond to a call like nothing else.
The 3 of them.
Frankly, a privilege to serve you. So thanks, guys.
A number of times, this is the best crew of people that I've ever worked with. I was 55 when I started.
I just want to pause a second. So, firstly, the viewers are the best viewers. The reason why any show gets pulled is because there are no viewers. Secondly, I see Giovanni in the comments is saying this is the most cringe thing. Yes, that was like you'd expect the project to come at this cringily, and they did. That was like such a cringe way to end, to announce that it's the end. But it's been dying for a long time here. It's been dying for a long time.
Look, this should have been killed off maybe 10 years ago.
Exactly.
I mean, it had its run. It wasn't never really that successful as they make it out to be. They pushed it a lot. And especially when social media became a bit more prominent in terms of calling this nonsense out, I think they really struggled. I think the only people they were tricking is just people who had no other information besides watching network television. I think they had an impact on those type of individuals, but yeah, this show was done years and years ago.
And I want to point out,
because
I'm just going to flex right now. I bet you can't do this. We're going to test you live on air. I'm just going to pull this up. Can you see that? Oh no, you can't. Hold on. No. I can't.
You're gonna
just want to show you.
Yourself.
I'm blocked. I've been blocked for years from the project on Twitter. Do you reckon they're gonna unblock me now? They blocked me when they did a report of it. I think
Well, I was hoping
ago.
like in a few years or a few months, like the Twitter handle gets taken off, and I'll just quickly register it because I registered the RMIT Fact Lab Twitter handles after they dismantled themselves. It'll be a good one to have, the project Twitter handle, just to kind of post shit on.
Why are you telling everyone?
Excuse my French. Nah, I'm just saying someone should do it. But look, it's just one of those shows. I don't know what it is about the project. I'll be like, there was a period of time when it first started, I did watch it because it was like, okay, what is this like? It's kind of a new kind of way of doing news, right? Because we always had that boring 6 o'clock news or 5 o'clock news, whatever, on television. So this is kind of different. They're talking about topics, but I think the more and more people watched it, even for me at, all those years ago, 16 years ago, you start to realize that this is kind of agenda driven. The hosts are kind of weird and annoying in terms of the way that they share their views. Like, it's very condescending. Like, we talk about topics, we share our views, but I don't think we're condescending to the people that are watching our show. Like, we're not like trying to say that we're better than them because we have these values and views and ethics and morals and stuff, right? But the project always kind of carried itself like, oh, well, we're telling you like the exact proper good way to be on any particular issue. And they would kind of insert comedy into it and all of that, but it was all kind of just trying to tell people that, we're kind of better than you. If you're not doing it this way, you're one of these outcasts. And I don't think they ever could separate themselves from that type of
I think you just
mentality.
can't have activists producing a news show, or what they're saying, news delivered differently. That was their tagline in the beginning. I think they kind of did that 16 years ago, and then they morphed into this show that was just run by a group of activists, and people don't realize this, but most of their producers are exactly the people we were talking about before, like gay, LGBTQ, like different trans, like they've got the most insane group of producers who essentially run the show. And then they have like people like Waleed Ali that are holier than thou, they hold the moral high ground. And then they, to have the other view, who do they have? This lunatic, this weak so-called conservative, the biggest sellout on the planet, and his response to all of this has been hilarious. Let's watch what he said on the show, and then let's watch what he wrote for the read what he wrote for the Herald Sun when he saw the entire internet from the left to the right. It's not only the right that's been celebrating this. I saw, you see, Friendly Jordan did a whole thing about celebrating how they're like everybody's celebrating their downfall.
I'm now 70.
Wow.
So that's 15 years. How an old fat white guy like me can survive that long, I've got no idea, but I'm still here.
He's a conservative,
I'm really sad
and he's
today.
playing.
Melbourne's lost an incredible investment in its culture in Melbourne with the people who work on this show.
I doubt it.
Is that an
People who come out
investment?
here with music bands and
Pricey, we know you've lost your little cash cow that you've had for years. You're a token conservative. It's so
I don't
cringe.
know what value the project has added to the city of Melbourne besides the lining the pockets of these guys in this show.
I've got to be honest. I do hate watch it a lot. I do hate watch. I watch it so you don't have to. I watch it so the viewer doesn't have to watch it. I do hate watch it a fair bit. I've got to be fair. I think when they say when Waleed thanked his viewers, he was talking about just me. He says we're the best viewers. He must have been talking about me.
Yeah, it must be people hate watching it.
Actors, they're going to lose the opportunity to be able to talk about their products.
Totally.
Won't be able to be done anywhere else. And I'll miss it. I don't know what I'll do on Monday nights.
No,
I'll
we'll
pop
miss
round,
you
mate. You get back. You gave me that key, didn't you?
I was going to say, most of the comedians have been great.
Well, things change, but they also stay the same. Thanks, Pricey.
Just the final piece of housekeeping. So our last show will be on June the 27th. We're with you all the way up till then, and we're going to have a real crack, I think.
I'm going to go out with a bang.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Definitely.
It's time to
Wait,
see.
should I?
We did, yeah.
It couldn't happen to a better bunch of people.
And I think I've seen a lot of people saying online. I even saw a post, someone saying we shouldn't celebrate this and be jovial about the end of a TV show, despite the disagreements and things like this. I don't agree with whatsoever, because the project, shows like the project, are so joined at the hip almost with cancel culture in ways. They've been involved in trying to backlash and cancelling and boycotting all types of things. So for people celebrating the end of the project, I don't think that's a problem whatsoever. People are free to celebrate it and enjoy that this woke nonsense is finally off the TV airways, and it's not an annoyance anymore. And sure, they'll find something else to replace it. But for the moment, in terms of what the project means to a lot of people, like you said, across the political spectrum, many people did not enjoy the format and the way that they went about things.
And I think it is important. The project used to be the number one rating news and current affairs show for a bunch of years, at least for the first 6 years. I'm almost certain.
Couple of years.
And they wielded a lot of power. They got to direct kind of the conversation. You got to remember, politicians bow to that type of stuff. So they did actually hold a certain power in their day. I think this is more of a sign of the times. Them and Q&A collapsing is showing what social media and what everyday people, regular people who don't come up through the established media normal avenues that you used to have to get through to be able to get onto TV, that now regular people like you and me are able to do it, and they don't gatekeep the conversation anymore. So once they lost that, they lost the control, but they also lost the viewership, because people prefer now in 2025 to watch you don't need to put, like, it's a very polished show. Every story is produced down to the last word. I wish I had the kind of backing and funding that they had to produce, and the amount of staff and everything to produce a show like that. But it's all produced for a certain aim, and that's their activism. That's the activism of the producers. Now people are sick of that. People are voting with their eyes. And, look at this now. We've got 5,819 people across platforms right now tuned into our show here on the internet that we're doing from our, with a budget of nothing. Of nothing. We're relying on super chats, speaking of which. We've got one to read here. Giovanni, thank you for another super chat.
Thanks, mate. Bye the project and Q&A. Good riddance to bad rubbish. Couldn't have happened to a nicer bunch. Now kindly F off and don't come back. And I think that's the sentiments of many people around these shows. Like, it's so visceral, the reaction that people have to these things, and they're happy that it's gone. And like you said, I think it is a sign of the changing of the media landscape in general, and the decline of viewership for commercial TV, our television in general. People are consuming, especially on political issues, like you said, Avi, online shows, podcasts, within themselves, within like these kind of debates on X and Facebook and things like this. So they're getting their political ideas from there, especially the younger generation that's come up. So they don't need the opinions of a Waleed Ali shoved down their throat, and it's not really kind of working out with even the older generation that may be still watching a lot of mainstream television. I don't think those messages resonate anymore, because they've also lost distrust. There's a lot of distrust in mainstream media. So figures like Waleed and, Steve Price, whatever, they're very polarizing when it comes to their issues, because people don't believe them. That's what because they've seen them lie so many times. On issues like COVID, whatever, they've seen them lie so many times. And for them to now to get up and, try to convince people that they're actually, genuine in terms of the way that they kind of approach this, I don't think people are buying it. So, Catherine, another super chat from Catherine. So, both shows that adversely affected
court
case. So I think that was the Brittany Higgins,
Oh,
possibly.
yeah,
Project.
that's a good point.
Because that's where Lisa
I think that was a
Wilkinson-
Lisa Wilkinson.
Yeah.
I feel like that was one of the final nails in the coffin, that whole saga.
Yeah, well, she's been somewhat vindicated with how that kind of played out.
Sure,
Jane,
but I think she has, but the project weren't vindicated.
not the whole network. No. The project makes my skin crawl. Haven't watched it in 5 years.
Ebony, I do it for you. But thank you, everyone, for the super chats. Keep them coming in, and we'll keep getting to them. Now, speaking of Steve Price, because as we saw, there are people from across the board who are celebrating this news, but not Steve Price, who we saw in that little segment. He was saying that it's, but he doubled down the next day in the Herald Sun with this piece. He's saying those dancing on the grave of woke the project exposed their own ignorance. Melbourne and Australia lost something unique this week, a live TV show with passion, courage, humour and heart. Those dancing on its grave are ignorant. So let's see what the argument of Steve Price, who... You know, there is a slight conflict of interest. Like, let's say I was the token conservative and then I wrote the next day an article in what is supposed to be a conservative newspaper, defending the act. Like, nobody can deny that it is woke content. It is completely woke. And he is there to legitimize their woke nonsense. Whenever they engage with Steve Price on a real issue, they're making fun of him. Always.
Exactly.
And
he's
the
a
thing
punching
is,
bag.
and no one's with him. Like, because even conservatives disown this idiot.
Yeah.
So people dancing on the grave attends the project, ending its 16-year run on Prime TV, are ignorant. It means that virtually all live television, bar some AFL panel shows and some comedy programs and the 6 p.m. news, are now run out of Sydney. Melbourne, that's his argument. So what? What's the difference? It was a national show. Melbourne is the big loser today, and the city will never get back what it had ever again. What does it make a difference that it was a studio in Melbourne? How does that make any difference?
Complete rubbish.
It means that virtually... Oh, no, that's what we said. Melbourne... Oh, hold on, sorry. The Sydney-based 10 network is said to be replacing the project with a loosely described show hosted by ex-Channel 7 staff with the word investigative in the title.
Yeah.
Good luck to them. Like, what does that matter? Good luck to them, but it sounds to me like an extension of the hour-long existing news service and a cheaper version of what really has been a groundbreaking TV program. Steve Pricey is so out of touch and deluded. He's so deluded in his words in this article. I can't even believe... Like, it's so embarrassing to call yourself a conservative and make this your argument. I've sat at the end of the project desk for around 15 years, starting back in 2010 with Carrie Bickmore and Charlie Pickering as anchors and Dave Hughes as the program's comedian. We were called the 7 p.m. project and ran for a half an hour. Thank you for the history. Wait, so he started then. No wonder why he's so upset, is it? He's been getting paid for 16 years to be a punching bag of the left.
It's been a good gig.
During 2010, the show was extended to an hour, starting there, blah, blah. As the longest-serving panel member and conservative old white guy, like, that says it all. The way he describes himself as... Exactly. He is one of them. It's not like he's a token conservative. He's not a real conservative. How I lasted for 1 year, let alone 15, has been a miracle. No, Steve, it hasn't. It's obvious. It's obvious. You gave the woke panel exactly what they want for 15 years. For 15 years. And the viewers have voted even you off. You should go away as well. I've worked with... Sorry, is there something you want to add to this? I'm just reading. I'm like, this is the first time. This is the first time I'm reading this, and I can't believe.
I'm just wondering what Steve Price has done to you, but I'll keep reading.
Do you know what? He's bothered me almost more than the entire panel because, like, I'm in the industry. I know things about what happens in the back end of the project. I know about the producers. I've met some in the past, and I know exactly what it is. So Steve Price is either completely oblivious and delusional, or he's absolutely dishonest. I think he's dishonest. He's been bought out. Like he was somewhat conservative, held some conservative views, but for him to describe it the way he's describing in this piece, is complete nonsense. You can't.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like he doesn't have a gauge of what the public's reaction has been to this. Because if he was anywhat discerning about what people react to the project of the last decade or so, he would not be able to reconcile that with what the crap he's writing around. You know?
But I think this whole the whole pretense of this article is that he sees how people are reacting to it, and this is kind of his answer to that. But it's like, are you that out of touch? Are you that out of touch? You can't see the points people are making that are legitimate about the project. Like, not even the right, but for him specifically, he should see it more than anyone because he is a conservative, and he should recognize how they used him so that they can push their woke nonsense, their cancel culture, their hate of men, of white people. But even in this, he's joining in on it, like old conservative white guy.
I mean, it's weird because he's like, "Oh, I'm an old conservative white guy." I don't even know how I lasted that long in this show. Like, he's kind of making it out to be like, you know, like they are so woke and bad. Like, you know, the fact that I'm around is even like astonishing to me. It's just like, what are you talking about? He's just a token punching bag, unfortunately. Like, that's what he was, and they kept him around because, like you said, it just enabled them to touch on that side and, you know, make fun of that side. And he was willing to just kind of, you know, cop it. I know he got into some heated arguments and had some heated incidences on that show. But overall, I think he was just...
and even then, I think he had to come back and apologise a couple of times. Like, he's always
he did what he had to do to keep his job.
I've worked with 2 full-time female hosts, Carrie and the wonderful Sarah Harris, plus 2 pregnant male hosts.
No, not pregnant.
Oh, permanent. I was like, have we lost? Oh my God! All right, I think I'm reading words into... I'm like, wait, did he just go that way? Okay, thank God. 2 permanent.
It is 2025.
It is the project, and I was thinking which ones were bring 2 permanent male hosts, Charlie and the remarkable Waleed Ali, plus fill-in hosts like Hamish McDonald, Peter Van. Oh, remember him? Remember how they cancelled him at the end? He got cancelled by that whole crowd. Yeah, he got cancelled at the end. He was a big name for a few years there, and then they cancelled him. He was one of them, and then he had the wrong
overstepped.
No, he had the wrong view on something, and he got cancelled. But yeah, I forgot about him being a host for the project. And Georgie Tunney, I don't know, plus comedian swapping chairs. I like how he frames that. It was comedians. They kept firing him after Hughesy left. Like, Hughesy is somewhat funny. I do like Hughesy. And they did after Hughesy left. After they sacked Hughesy, they kept sacking all their comedians because they just weren't funny. They did all these little segments that just weren't funny. The concept of the project was largely a brave brainwave by Roving Enterprises' Craig Campbell. The idea was to combine news program with comedy and opinion. It's like a brainwave of... Dude, they copied the Americans.
Staple of Saturday Night Live, exactly. Dave Letterman. It's pretty much kind of that with a panel host concept. So it's not something that's remarkably been done before. But it's, during the daytime, maybe, I don't know if they do that in America. But yeah, it's not a new concept.
I'm too scared to scratch my nose because Rhonda's going to send me a message and it looks like I'm snorting coke again. The idea was original and groundbreaking. The show won awards, made national TV stars out of its hosts, and gave visiting musicians, rock stars, authors, and sports people a nighttime vehicle to plug concerts, movies, and books, and tolerated politicians also pushing their own barrows. Yeah, whatever. So it's a TV show. It's like every TV show.
Yeah, we kind of lost. Australia kind of has got really crappy TV shows. Unfortunately, I went down this route where we didn't end up like. I think it used to be Hey Hey Saturday. It was like kind of the variety show at nighttime.
Yeah.
So when artists came and celebrities came, they would kind of do acts on there and end up on there. We kind of lost that. And I think the project took some of that in. I think that's what he's alluding to.
I went to Queensland and interviewed Pauline Hanson and Peter Dutton in separate interviews because they said they didn't trust the other hosts and would only talk to me. Well done. I supported Donald Trump the first time round and was almost hounded off the show for doing so. Is that not a red flag, Pricey? I nearly got cancelled. I had to apologise to former New Zealand Prime Minister. I remember that's what I was talking about, Jacinda Ardern, for something I've forgotten. I have long forgotten. I said at one point I was fearful of losing my house over a loose remark made about one of the Corby family who threatened to sue me personally. 10 stepped in and saved me. The ignorant people doing the glad they got sacked dance over the cancellation called the show woke and lefty. Hello, I am the exact opposite of that description and have been there from almost the start. Hold on. Steve Price, you're the exact opposite. Let me remind you of your words at the beginning of this stupid article. And a conservative old white guy. I maybe you're right of centre still, but you're not the exact opposite of that description. Sorry. No?
Yeah, exactly. He's the embodiment of this kind of woke mind virus that takes a hold of even conservatives to the point they bend the knee and start believing that shit.
And in his case, it's not ideological. Like he didn't he didn't shift to their positions out of ideology. He's literally been paid out and he's talking about how he can't believe he lasted so long. Newsflash, you lasted so long because you played their game and you enabled it and you became them to a degree. Yes, you had more you were the token conservative. Exactly that. The name describes what you were. Like, how do you not? Does he really not see that? Do you think he really doesn't see that? I guess he's convinced. I guess he probably convinced himself. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the deep end.
I'm the exact opposite. Show me that sort of political balance on any ABC TV show. You can't. Well done, Steve Price. You're comparing yourself to the ABC. Like, talk about a low bar. You're setting, like, the ABC. Sure. And I bet you if the ABC had to be commercially viable, they would also fold. In fact, you're saying that as they've cancelled Q&A. So, yeah, even Q&A, who doesn't have to be commercially viable, are also cancelling these lunatic shows because they don't have any viewership. The human face of this decision, and by the way, we are also celebrating Q&A failing Q&A as well, next. Steve Price, so you can feel better about that. The human face of this decision is what troubles me the most. The project was the best resourced media show I have ever worked on, which is exactly what I was saying in the lead, when we were discussing this. Like, I wish, do you know what we could have in Australia if you and I had the resources they had on that show? Like, I don't think people realize how much it costs to run that show. Like, it's incredible, the amount of staff, the equipment, the studios. Everything they have behind this show is top notch.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm shocked, like, it didn't shut down years ago. Behind the scenes was a gift. You would know better than anyone. You've run, wedding, like your little wedding photography operation is like, and that's quite a successful thing for a small business. And that's nothing, like, even in regards to something as little as equipment.
Yeah.
Like, their equipment would be worth millions upon millions.
I mean, look, Channel 10 made a massive investment in the project. And even when it's gone through multiple stages of financial crisis, Channel 10, I think, recently they were taken by Paramount or something like this. And even during those discussions, I'm sure it would have come up, the viability of a show like the project. Like, why are we doing this? With these ratings and stuff that we're having, why are we still spending so much on this particular project? So yes, they would have a lot of resources that were thrown at it and a lot of people that were working on it. And these people are going to be without work unfortunately, they'll find other jobs or they'll find other spots at Channel 10, whatever. But there was a big machine behind it, and there is a human impact to it. But what's can a show like the Project really run forever? I don't think it lended itself to the changing landscape of the media, the way that they should have been on a podcast like five years ago. They should have been more on social, what I mean. They should have reinvented parts of their show, maybe change their hosts around. They could see the writing on the wall, but they just didn't want to go down that path. They went down this woke path. They were 100%, miles per hour down this path, and did not look at any other alternatives to make it more viable for the future. And this is the end result. So
go woke, go broke, as they say.
Yeah, it sounds like Steve. Reading what Steve is saying, there must have been resistance within the hosts and stuff for it to be cancelled. Like he feels really passionate about the impact of it, so they must have fought for it not to be cancelled.
Wouldn't you, if you were, I don't know, on a couple of $100,000 a year, and suddenly after 15 years they're pulling it off you? Like I imagine he's at least a couple of $100,000 he's getting for that.
Yeah.
And so it's a painful hit to the pocket. Like, that's probably his best earner at the moment, Steve. I don't know what else he's doing at the moment.
I don't know. But yeah,
he's probably retiring.
It's good, it works out well for him.
Behind the scenes was gifted hardworking crew of young producers, comedy writers. I don't know why they've jumped. What's that formatting? Editors, journalists, camera operators, makeup artists, and wardrobe assistants. Like, be honest at least, Steve. Talk about the young producers. Who made up the producers? Like, I know, because I know people and I've met some of them, but be honest, like, you're a conservative. You say that it had a balanced thing. Look, you're an example of it. Show me one conservative producer they had. One producer. Heck, probably, I could make it easier for you. Show me one non-gay or trans producer they have. I bet you can't. Most, if not all, these talented crew are now out of work as the replacement show moves to Sydney. Good riddance. Good. Hopefully they never get another job in media, or at least news media. They can be whatever joke. I don't care. These people should not be in charge of kind of formulating serious discussion about the future of our country. They are bad for our country. So yeah, I don't want them just to get beat. Like, I don't want to ruin their lives for nothing. I just don't want them to ruin the country, and that's what they were doing, or that's what they were trying to do. But thankfully, Australia voted against them. That's essentially what's happened here. Economic times are tough. I know that. And free-to-air TV is in a battle with global streaming services to survive. And the internet, mate. And the internet. Yeah. Melbourne and Australia has lost something. I'm being told by the kids. Okay, I've been practicing, so I'll try it again. Melbourne and Australia, because my kids keep cursing me out that I pronounce Australia like that. I've always pronounced it Australia, and they're like, it's so bogan. Learn to speak English. Don't you want to sound more articulate? And so these are my kids. Anytime they hammer me. So
I think they're onto something.
Yeah. So I promise that I'll commit to trying. So Melbourne and Australia. I'm not doing the LIA. I was just doing Australia. Isn't it easier? Australia. Melbourne and Australia has lost something unique this week. A live TV show with passion. Really? Courage? Really? What courage? Humor? Dude, it lost its humor with Hughesy all those years ago. And a heart. What heart? It's sad. Steve Price, listen. Hopefully you also disappear into irrelevance. Like, you're a deluded old white man, as you would describe yourself.
He'll take that.
Oh my God.
Good riddance to the project. It probably waited. How many times have we called for the project to be scrapped? how many posts when they put up some nonsense BS, we'll say, "Oh, scrap the project." So
The only better news is this.
I mean, this is like what a double a double gift for the people of Australia. Like, how good is it for us? I can't quite put into words how it happens. This kind of double victory. It's double luck. There must be some sort of Chinese term for what this is, right? When you get two things like this happen at the same time, it's what it feels like, just to have the project gone, and then all of a sudden you read the Q&A. The publicly funded this time. We pay for this content.
And guess what? This public brought and we're going to be saving some taxpayer dollars here.
Thank
because
God.
they will shed about 40 jobs in a restructure. It sounds like a Doge moment. Do you reckon it's my old uncle? I've got to invite him back on the show.
Mr. Williams.
Mr. Williams. Do you reckon Mr. Williams has something to do with that? I should ask him.
Maybe.
The ABC will discontinue its weekly. I tried to find a video report on this. There's no video reports. The ABC didn't run this in their hourly bulletin. Yeah, the ABC will discontinue its weekly panel show Q&A after 18 years. They lasted longer than the project. I guess that's easy when you don't have to be commercially viable. The public broadcaster has announced, as a part of the slew of changes that will result in around 40 redundancies, the show hosted by Patricia Karvelas, the most annoying person on TV, I don't know, maybe Waleed's up there with her, since 2023 will not return after its hiatus, which started last month. Oh, so they've literally just not coming back. It's funny because it is one of those shows like Q&A that I, as somebody that is obsessed with politics and what's going on, like it's one of those shows that I do watch.
Yes.
But
I do watch it, yeah.
For very similar reasons, like it's a more serious show than the project, but for many of the same reasons, it would make my blood boil. It was so partisan, like biased. It was so biased and pretended they weren't. And whenever they brought on conservatives, they rarely brought on good conservatives. It was always like token conservatives, like Mr. Pricey.
Yeah, the crowd, the audience was pitted against them.
The
host was against them. Like you could tell, like it was there. Like I honestly, the Q&A format, I think is for a public broadcaster. I think it's a worthwhile format in terms of a concept, like a political discussion between leaders and intellectuals and members of the public. Like it's a great idea, great concept, but just like the project, the ABC is so woke.
Yep.
And the people producing the show must be so woke. The hosts, like Patricia, and I think Stan Grant before it, they all had their woke agendas, and they talk about their personal woke agendas that influence the show. And it got to like the next level. Many of the audience watching this show today, it got to the next level probably during like the Voice to Parliament thing, and Welcome to Country and this and that. It was just like. It didn't really represent, I don't think, all of Australia when it produced its shows. If it just kind of had that true debate style format, allowed different views, didn't have hosts who had their own agenda and own views that were kind of permeating all the time through all their questions in this kind of snarky way, I think it would have lasted a lot longer. Maybe a different name or something like this. Who knows? But the actual format makes sense for a public broadcaster that's doing news service, because you do want to hear from elected officials. You do want to hear them question
and
why.
You do like the debates. I enjoy it. I love watching debates. So I totally agree with you. I think it would be a great show if it just wasn't stacked up against conservatives. Like if it was actually neutral, and even if that meant that you had to have two hosts, one honest lefty, like somebody that admits that they're a lefty. I hate when they pretend that they're like fair and balanced or whatever. Like you have a lefty and have a conservative, and actually have the audience split. Stop pretending, and that's where I think they lost it. The ABC's news director Justin Stevens said that Q&A had made a huge contribution to the national public discussion, and it did. Like that's the thing. I think.
But they tried to steer the conversation. That's what I'm trying to say. Like,
yeah, exactly.
They attempted to control the narratives. They wanted these gotcha moments, especially against conservatives. They kind of set them up sometimes, and it was very obvious that it wasn't a free-flowing debate. Like, it was literally an opportunity to catch people on the spot for the left, to have a stacked audience against them and be like, you are not representative of the views of the people in this audience and of the other elites here in the ABC. Like, it was literally like a shame thing. So if you're a conservative, you ended up on there, you're basically just defending yourself, really. Like, you're always defending your positions. Like, that was a Q&A for a from the right perspective. You were always just defending yourself. Where at the left, they were always just emboldened on that show. Everyone was behind them. Everyone was backing them. And they made you feel like that's where all of Australia was. And with the Voice to Parliament, we saw, no, that's not where all of Australia was. That's the crap that the Q&A was selling during the Voice was not representative whatsoever with the final vote. So there is that disconnect, and they just never really addressed it. So, like you said, Avi, they are right that they contributed to the national discussion.
No, but my point that I would make in addition to that is that they made a huge contribution to the national public discussion, but the fact that that it was skewed was also a negative national contribution to the national public discussion, because it was unfair. It was like the conservatives in this country, like the liberal, not even the liberal, but any conservative in this country has to essentially articulate their perspective, and they have to beat through the noise of the national broadcaster, and not only like the joke commercial shows like The Project, but shows that are taken seriously by anyone in power on both sides of the aisle and the entire media. Like, the entire media didn't take The Project seriously, but Q&A, yes. Q&A was taken seriously. So when it's skewed to one way, it is directing the public discussion, and the smile on your face makes me suspicious. What just happened?
Just someone told me to smile if I'm alive or something. I have no idea, but smile, Rukshan, we're alive, so...
Smile less, Rukshan, you freak me out like that. Okay, so very proud of the Q&A's achievements over the years. The team has done a terrific job, including a strong performance during the federal election campaign, he said. Discontinuing the program at this point is no reflection on anyone on the show. It's funny because this is an ABC report. I haven't seen any, I tried to find videos, like I said, on it, but it's essentially a press release. Like it's the ABC publishing their own report with their own statement. We always need to keep innovating and renewing, and in the 2 decades since Q&A began, the world has changed. No shit, and you don't control the narrative anymore. It's time to rethink how audiences want to interact and evolve, and to evolve how we engage with the public, to include as many Australians as possible in the national conversation. Like, if he was speaking honestly, I would agree with that. Because you need to evolve, but you're lying because you don't want to. There's no way you want to include as many Australians as possible in the national conversation. You're just failing to get the audience, so you're going to find another lefty way to do it. That's what's essentially going to happen. We'll be working on how to continue to foster engagement of this nature in an innovative way. Carvelis will continue hosting Afternoon Briefing. I've noticed that she's on that. And the Popular Politics Now podcast, along with writing her column for the ABC News website. Patricia also recently reported for Four Corners, and we've now asked her to do more Four Corners as time permits. Stevens said the Q&A proposal. Why didn't you get new blood in? Why are you shifting her off to another gig? She clearly failed at the gig you gave her. Like, it's such a joke. It's like it's the elitist club. The Q&A proposal would result in some redundancies, Stevens told ABC staff in an email. The ABC also announced it would invest in producing more news documentaries with a new position of executive producer, documentaries and specials to be advertised soon. Maybe I'll get... How many of the fired staff from the project are going to end up picking up a couple of those jobs? It will also make the Your Say project, launched during the recent federal election, a permanent initiative to drive audience engagement in communities around the country. Your Say ensures we have a strong framework for putting the public's views, concerns, blah, 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 nothing structural
Nonsense,
change.
mate.
There's like it's just all nonsense. Audience
That was
powered.
nonsense.
Audience powered.
It's all nonsense. Like ABC, like they
There
bring up
she
the
is.
federal election. They bring up the federal election and they talk about including everyone's voices. If you look at ABC during the election time,
they include the
project-
news about the project being
the ABC during the election time, like how many teals did they have on these panels and shows and interviews and stuff like this, right? They do this. They pick and choose. They're selective with like getting the Greens and stuff. But if you look at the other minor parties like the Libertarians or United Australia Party, Trumpet of Patriots, whatever, like it doesn't matter. Who cares, right? Because Australians are voting for them. Let's not worry about the politics side of it. But are those voices included within the ABC's political election coverage? No. Right, but they have a lot of time to expend towards the teals and stuff like this, and you have to ask yourself why. Well, that is because they also push the other narratives, which the ABC staff or producers are interested in, things like climate change. Right, so all these things are compounded into this kind of narrative that the ABC sells to us today as this network that takes in the national conversations that people are having and it gives a diverse set of views, but it doesn't. It's all nonsense. It's actually all geared towards creating that narrative and pushing an agenda on the people of Australia while also making everyone in this country pay for it as well, which is a disgrace. They've been getting away with it for a long time. With the Q&A being going, what are they going to have? More woke shows? You know what I mean? What are they going to use the funding for next? Like, what's the legitimacy of continuing to have this network but not really have it reflect on the diverse views of the Australian public, which aren't all aligned with the ABC.
Totally, and I think that's a good point you make, is while we're probably celebrating, or the country's celebrating more the end of the project, Q&A is publicly funded by us, and it matters almost more because the project, well, whatever, that was their commercial enterprise. Like the failure is because it wasn't commercially viable, so if they continued it, they were doing it at their own cost. Here, we've been paying for that. All right, let's do these super chats and move on. We've got a bunch of other stories I want to cover tonight. So, guys, l'chaim, cheers. That was a celebration of the end of both Q&A and the project. Enjoy this moment. We don't get many of them at this time. All right, thank you, Regina, for that.
Thanks, Regina.
Super chat. Really appreciate every single super chat. It means a lot.
Thanks, Riot. In any other country, state media is propaganda. Yeah, it is purely state-based media. But I think ABC sometimes, it did have this knack of going against the Liberals in a way. So it wasn't always fully controlled. I know they make the argument that the Liberals also try to control the ABC, but they were...
The Liberals were too dumb to... The Liberals were too dumb to make them control it. So that's why it never costs them to do it. It's just ridiculous. The Liberal Party should be pushing to defund the ABC. The ABC works absolutely against them, and there's no reason we should have a public broadcaster paid by the taxpayer. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why do we need more?
There was a case for it, 30, 40 years
30,
ago.
40
maybe.
years ago, yes, I agree.
Yeah. Today, no. It should be voluntary, at the least.
There's most people spend their day online. We don't need it. And if it's commercially viable, then great, do it. But it's obviously not. So all it's doing is it's costing us. Plus, it's a bunch, again, of activists pretending to be journalists. Like, those are the same people who condemn me and mock me if I call myself a journalist. Half the time I say, I just say it to them to kind of rile them up. But the thing is, I think I'm honest. At least I'm honest.
Yeah.
At least our tagline is telling the other side of the story, where they're always pretending that they're not biased. I don't pretend not to be biased. I'm absolutely biased. I stand for freedom, democracy. I'm a conservative. Patricia, she was hosting that show, pretending like she's dead set in the center and she has no real views.
Yeah, 100%.
Here, two more quickly.
Regina, thanks again. We get given a lead pencil to vote. I think she's commenting on the electoral system.
You can take a pen in there, to be honest. So you can take a pen. Thank you for the super chat. Another one from Giovanni, one of our main men.
40 people worked on the Q&A, government waste on full display. Think about how much better the standard YouTube panel show does with 5 or 6 guys. And that's a very good point.
Really good. And hold on, Giovanni, I want to correct you. That's 40 people that are going to lose their jobs. I'd say that there's a lot more than 40 working on that show.
Yeah.
But you're right.
In today's modern world, like to run like you're seeing these highly produced YouTube shows and they're doing with a slim crew. And they're excelling far beyond
like the opposition podcast is literally
like the opposition podcast.
It's literally run by one person, and that's not you.
That's right. I'm saying like more the American podcasts which I run.
I'm just looking at 5 people.
You're looking at a skeleton crew of like 5 people maybe, and it's highly produced. The guests are the same. This is government waste. This is kind of giving people a job where there doesn't need to be a job for that particular role. And this is also a sign of them not modernizing and moving on with the times in terms of equipment and ways to do things. So, yeah, I think ABC just takes it for granted because it comes for free, the money.
I've come back on with the same one. Thank you, Giovanni. Thank you always for your generosity in the super chats. Really appreciate it. And Stu, I like Stu's comment.
This is not for reading my comments out. There you go. Well, you got to pay Stu $2. Avi does not read out unless I'm the only one that reads out random comments.
I get. There's people that are angry in the comments. And I was like, Avi's not going to read it unless we pay. Yes. I'm a Jew. 1, 2. How do you think we run this show? Thanks to the people that support us. So we're going to read the people that financially contribute to it. And look, we're even reading at the moment $2 ones. So. Put up or shut up. Is that too rude? Too harsh? Here we got one more quickly before we go on to the next story.
So I'm right again. A little something for the rainbow producers of this show. Yes, Avi is the rainbow producer of this show.
No, that's he's talking about Benji. Talking about Benji. Benji's going to kill me if we call him gay.
Read this random comment, Rukshan, prove it. There you go. I read the random comment. So after this show, Avi will probably pull me aside and be like, hey, mate, just stop reading the unpaid for comments.
We're going to, if you keep this up, we're going to half your pay for this. What's half of 0?
Equity. Thanks to the super chat. Don't read this. All my good ones were earlier.
You see, I enjoy even the trolling. Thank you all for your super chats. No, seriously, from the bottom of my heart. And look, we would go to all the comments, and that's why we thought we'll start just having the comments scroll automatically, so everybody can have a say and everybody can be involved. But even just reading the super chats takes a certain amount of time. And we don't want the whole show to just be comments. But if we see good comments, Rukshan, you have permission. You have 3. You can do 3.
3, all right.
Yeah, like this one's good. I like this one.
Happy Pride Month, Avi. Yeah.
Thank you. Stop it, you. Okay, let's go on to the next story. There's a couple of similar stories this week that are pretty shocking, I reckon. But let's see what you think and what the audience think.
A court has been told an Islamic preacher who described Jews as vile and treacherous rats and cowards was seeking to provide spiritual comfort to Muslims upset by the war in Gaza. The case against so-called hate preacher Wissam Haddad is set to redraw the line on just where religious speech strays into racial vilification.
In the early weeks of the Gaza war, Wissam Haddad gave a series of lectures at his Bankstown Islamic Centre. In them, he called Jews treacherous, mischievous and vile, rats and cowards, and quoted religious texts where even rocks and trees would help Muslims to kill Jews. Prominent Jewish leader Peter Wertheim co-sponsored a racial discrimination suit, telling the court Haddad's comments encouraged violence against Jewish Australians and made them less safe. Andrew Bowe, counsel for Haddad, told the court the preacher's language might be shocking, but the law does not restrict people to merely polite, bland or muted language in the context of robust discussion of political events. He said Haddad was seeking to provide spiritual comfort to his community at a time of great stress. He argued that Jewish Australians only came to hear of Haddad's preaching after it was reported in the media. He said Jewish leaders were like a prudish person seeking out pornography and then complaining that they're offended by it. The Jewish leaders say Haddad deliberately sought a wide audience for his dehumanizing language online, even describing himself publicly as a mosque shock jock. The hearing is expected to last another 3 days. Wissam Haddad, also known as Abu Usaid, is due to take the stand tomorrow. Hugh Remington for 10 News First.
So there's a bit to unpack in that, right? Firstly, I just got to say, the guy, like, that's a religious leader. He looks like a gangster, like a drug dealer, more than a religious leader. But I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying the look. He just looks like one. Now, like, I have problems with racial discrimination laws, firstly, generally, right?
Yeah.
I think here where it crosses over, it crosses the line, is where it gets into incitement to violence. I'm not sure why it's just going under racial vilification when there's when the argument that it's an incitement to violence, it should be taken under that. So I don't know the complexities of the legal thing. And what he's clearly doing is an incitement to violence when you're saying, you know, the day is soon going to come where we're going to kill all the Jews. That, to me, that's a pretty clear incitement to violence. Now, I know that they're going to hide behind religious texts, and this has long been an argument that an issue that I've had, that they get to do that while inciting violence. And I think we need to have an honest conversation about that, because there are Muslims who don't preach those parts of religious text. They kind of ignore it, like Christians ignore parts of text where they talk about it, you know, homosexuals or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, they make a conscious decision not to go there. This guy is nitpicking at this point in time, nitpicking specifically inflammatory, hateful, insightful religious texts to preach to a really angry crowd. He's doing it on purpose. And that, to me, is an incitement to violence. So I think there is good grounds for legal, you know, some legal remedies. But I don't know if that's the correct court. That's not where I want to see him. I want to see him in front of a criminal court. And the other side of it, like, imagine the tables were turned. Imagine you had Jewish preachers.
Yeah. Well, not even Jewish, obviously. So this is the thing, right? So this is the test. So this is like a landmark case, kind of. That's how it's being portrayed. But think for a moment, you got some sort of Christian leader, or just a Christian in general, in a church setting, or even outside a church setting, doesn't matter, talking about Muslims and in a derogatory manner, and, you know, referring back to scripture, maybe, who knows, like, whatever, and saying these type of things that were said just then. And that person happened to be like a white Australian, there would be hell to pay. It wouldn't work out like this. Like, that's the honest truth. There would be hell to pay. So once to get into these kind of ethnic religions, like that have kind of, you know, been, Australia's predominantly a Christian country. These other foreign, you know, religions, you know, Judaism, Islam, whatever, Hinduism, and they then bring in their own, you know, prejudices against other groups of people, and they kind of talk about hatred of other groups within society, because we're all living together here now, right? Everyone has to kind of live together. So it does create that problem where that some of the things that are being said might actually be acted out upon, because right now in other parts of the world, that's what's happening. Those things are being acted out on. So that issue around those terms that are being used, that incitement to violence, where it's dehumanizing particular groups in society that do exist with each other, can lead someone to commit an act of violence against them. So that's a problem. And like I said, if a white person had said that about any of these other ethnic groups or religious groups and said these things,
even in the name of Christian, even if they were using Christian texts,
even if they're using Christian text, not only would it be a court thing, the PM, all these people would be flipping around backwards to condemn, to jail, and to do things with these people. So we don't have a free, equal society in Australia, because not everyone can speak like this. So I'm interested to see how this kind of plays out. And I know the free speech purists and stuff have have things to say about this. And I'm also someone that very heavily supports free speech, but we do have issues where it does cross over into inciting violence against other people.
Well, that's
in the
that's the thing. Like I've always argued that. Like I believe in like I think if he was just being nasty to Jews, I then call him out, debate him, whatever. But when there is a clear line to incitement to violence, we have laws for that, and I don't think you should be allowed to hide behind religious texts when you're calling for the murder of other Australians.
No, that's what I mean. Like, none of these, like, I'm going to say again, these foreign religions to the system of laws in Australia should not have any sway in the way that people can break our nation's laws. Like, you should not be able to hide behind the text of the Quran in Australia. Like, in the Middle East, whatever, we go there, we live by those rules, and we have to adhere to those laws. Here, as a Christian nation, we should not have to tolerate people talking about their ancient blood feuds and bringing it to our streets. If you want to do that crap, go back. Do it over there.
I agree.
Don't bring it here.
I agree. Regina, thanks again for that super chat. Much appreciated. There's Stu's back with another comment. What has Stu said?
Stu says, not at all. I'm glad you didn't. We forgot Stu's last comment.
Hold on. His last. Stu's going to have to do another Stu said, this is for reading my last comment. This is for not reading my last comments out. So not at all. I'm glad you didn't. Oh, okay. They must have been nasty comments that were probably going to get us banned anyway. Stu, doing your best to get us banned. Thank you. Thank you for the support. Regina's done another one. This time left us an actual comment to read with it. Thank you for
Regina. Like I said, opinions are like arseholes. Everyone has one. Yes. I mean,
so
that
true.
is
That's what my wife keeps telling me. I think she's calling me an arsehole. Nah, she never says that. She says that about Rukshan, I think. There's one more super chat. I really want to thank you, Insolent, for this super chat, but I'm not going to put it up on screen just because it might get the stream banned. So I'll just read out what you're generally saying. Ban halal and they'll leave. And I think a lot of people think that, like, if we stop making it so easy, but I'm somebody that believes in freedom, so I think we have a problem. Like, we got to be able to face the problems, like the extremism in our community, and be able in a country to have honest conversations about every religion, not just about Christianity, because nobody has a problem in condemning old backwards ideas in Christianity. But don't dare do that about Islam or even Judaism, right? But especially Islam, no one will dare do it for a bunch of reasons, especially, these guys, if you dared, like I said, if the example that you gave, if you flipped it around, they'll be up in arms. But, in their religion, you're not allowed to draw, you're not allowed to talk about their prophets. If you do that, there's suddenly riots. We see that all around the world. People get killed. Charlie Hebdo, they killed everybody in Charlie Hebdo. So a really precious religion that if you dare say the wrong thing about it, there's going to be riots on the streets and people are going to die, but then feel like they have the freedom because they're protected by our democracy, by our free speech laws, or implied rights to free speech here. They use our system to then incite violence against other Australians. They hide behind their religion. So I think it can't go both ways. We've either got to say, okay, we have freedom of religion here, but we have laws about incitement to violence, and within the context of freedom, we have freedom of religion and freedom of speech and laws about incitement. So, meaning everybody can practice and pray to whoever they want.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, Avi. You can't have religious freedom where where people aren't all equal. Does that make sense?
Well, if your religion tells me if you have freedom of religion until the point where your religion starts telling you that you need to kill or harm somebody else in the country, because that's
what I'm trying to say. So if Australia has religious freedom, that's great. We have religious freedom. But once a religious group or a sect or a cult, whatever, wants to impede on other religions' freedom to practice without any kind of fear or favor, then that's a problem. Then you're against the system that's there. So I see that very clearly. So yes, we have religious freedom, but once you have a religion that wants to, kill other people in the country, for instance, even a small group of them, then that's not compatible with the Australian idea of what religious freedom is. And in that instance, you can restrict these individuals because they're against. They will be responsible for bringing the whole thing down. Where none of us can enjoy our religious freedom or whatever it is, right? So that's the problem. So you can have freedoms, but it comes with limitations, because if you don't have those kind of limitations on that, then we end up in these situations in society where people are living in fear that things will be incited, there'll be religious wars here, and it's not out of the question because we've seen it in other parts of the world. So, and to varying degrees in Australia now as well.
And on that point, even on this stream, we have freedom. We're letting people engage in the conversation. That's why we have the scrolling text. But putting like the last super chat, which I really appreciated. Again, thank you to everyone that's super chatting and in Solon. The fact that I'm and I'm going to ask you guys, if you're going to put a super chat, which we have to bring on the screen and read out, just self-censor, because this is going on. Obviously, X and Rumble is fine, but Facebook and especially YouTube, which we're relying on to get the funding via your super chats and whatever. If we put up comments and read it, certain comments and read it, well, somebody can flag it, and that can actually stop us from being able to do this. So I do appreciate the super chats. Just remember, if you're going to super chat and you have a comment, self-censor it. So say what you want to say, but obviously don't say something that could cross a line that would get us banned. I know not everyone knows the rules around that, and it takes just using a bit of common sense. Be more cautious, Imagine the biggest woke leftist is looking for something to kick us off and ban us from this platform, and leave a comment like that. One more super chat. Yes, look, I have been so tempted. Loz is saying, can Avi go to the LA and cover the riots? I have been super tempted to jump on a plane and do it. I don't know if I have I don't even know if I have a valid visa now, so I probably wouldn't be able to get there in time, but I probably should also do my visa. I would love to. That's like, I reckon I'm born for those riots. I remember I did the Hong Kong riots at the time. Like, as a journalist, let's trigger them again. As a journalist, like, my style, for me, that is my zone.
Made for it.
I'm made for it. And also because it's America, so the lefties don't really know me. Yeah. And I would be able to I really would love to go, because there I'd be able to break the ice just by being Aussie, and they'll drop their guards straight away. And it's such a big country as well. Like, it's such a big country.
Well, I mean, you could get shot because you're an Australian journalist. Like, that's possible now too.
Yeah, but then the Prime Minister will come and defend me, so we're fine. By the way, I would love to go because it would be so easy to talk to Antifa, and their guards would be down, and they would talk to me, and they would think I'm on their side because I'm like a dumb Aussie and I'm a person of color, like my tour in America up until then. And you see in America, it's so big, like not everyone knows everyone. You see like conservative, even like pretty popular X platforms that go to all these protests, and they're fine because nobody really knows them because it's such a big country. But on what you were just saying, isn't it funny? Because I tweeted that out today, and I'll bring up the screenshot just because you went back to that story of, what's her name?
Is it Lauren or Laura Tomasi? Lauren?
Laura Tomasi, yeah, Laura Tomasi, who let me bring up this screenshot a second, because I think it's super telling, to be honest, about like this screenshot that I saw somebody else had got it, and I just thought it was like an important point here. All right, boom, boom, boom. So in 2021, Laura Tomasi, this is the journalist that was hit by the LAPD, and everyone's got opinions about that, whatever. People saying that she should have been behind the police line or whatever.
Yep.
To be fair, the police may not have let that. Like, I've been in those situations. I don't know what the police have directed her. Only she knows. She probably has it on record or whatever. But it is very funny to see that in 2021, the irony of this comment that she made. Next man, so she was talking about the protests. Next man up so she was at the courts. Next man up is a 60-year-old freelance photographer, allegedly with no mask. He's accusing of shoving an officer in the chest. His lawyer argues he was there not to partake in the protest, but to photograph. He's not regarded as an essential worker. Bail granted. I must say these accused protesters are very meek and mild in their handcuffs today. No screaming about fake news and fake viruses today, folks. Yeah. So she's mocking him, right? She's saying he's a freelance photographer who allegedly pushed a cop. Yeah. And so from being at those protests, I know what that looked like. Like Benji, my photographer, pushed a cop as well because the cop pushed his camera. Okay, so and Benji was totally in the right. We ran that footage and embarrassed the cops over that at the time. Yep. So this photographer, a freelance photographer, so he's a journalist, was targeted, arrested. He was granted bail. She's mocking him that he wasn't regarded as an essential worker. She's not outraged about that fact, and then mocking them for not screaming about fake news and like literally mocking them. And now the world's meant to give her sympathy because she may or may not have been targeted, may have been just in the way. I don't know. I'm not going to jump to conclusions either way. It didn't look great. From where I was standing and from my experience, it did look like the cop doesn't like Channel 9. I can't blame him for that.
There is so many tweets of her that are being circulated now from the past during the COVID time, where she kind of freely spoke about, against protesters and not celebrated, but kind of, like this kind of sarcastic tone about, oh, well, they got arrested, almost like they deserved it type thing. And there's a few stories that are going around now about her.
But I think that's one thing. I agree, and I've seen those. I thought this one was especially egregious because
it's a journalist.
It's a journalist. It's exactly what it's exactly why she's claiming she should have been. Like, the cops had every right to shoot protesters. The problem in that footage was that they were shooting her as a journalist. Well, here you have her mocking what she recognizes. What's a freelance photographer? It's by definition a journalist.
Of course, it's a photojournalist.
All right. Anyways, we got a bit off topic there. We got another story which was in the similar vein to the last one, but another crazy story. Let's have a look at this.
An anti-Semitic preacher is preparing to build a multi-million-dollar Islamic enclave in Melbourne's north.
It's not the same. No, it's a different guy.
Regularly conducts hate-fueled sermons, sparking calls for the organisation's tax-free charitable status to be revoked.
A high-profile Muslim leader, Sheikh Abu Hamza, is turning to social media to fund a multi-million-dollar Islamic sanctuary.
Allah has willed for us to pay a deposit for a block of land in Mickleham.
Plans for the 12-hectare site include a mosque, a school, aged care and sporting facilities, and he wants the community to chip in.
If you pay $3,500, we will be able to cover the rest of the amount. And please, do not deny yourself this amazing opportunity that Allah blessed you with.
But it's not those videos turning heads.
These Zionists are not normal. They're blood-sucking human beings. They're scavengers. They're not humans.
The anti-Semitic preacher's hateful rants sparking anger.
And to then use that to spread hatred, it's contrary to the values of this country and so to the values of our tax system.
The religious leader's charity has already raised almost $5 million for the facility. And despite his radical videos, they have managed to secure state support for community events and education initiatives in the past.
I think we've seen too many of these hate preachers get away with a great deal of impunity. And until there are serious consequences in terms of the law, but also the withdrawal of their charitable status, we're going to see this thing continue and continue.
Hume Council and the state government are yet to receive any planning applications. Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
Clearly, it's in the same vein, I guess. And there's a lot of these hate preachers, and these are people that, one, charitable status, two, that guy has very cozy relationships with even the Prime Minister. There's photos of him hanging around the Prime Minister recently. There's something dark going on in the country at the moment, and it all comes back to what we were talking about a couple of minutes ago, where we're not allowed to talk about it. We're not allowed to confront it. We're not allowed to call it for what it is, and we're not allowed to question what is going on. And I wonder what the people of Mickleham feel about a super mosque or whatever they're calling the whole thing that they're trying to build there, run by somebody that's fueled by hate.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of everything. It's got the mosque, it's got the school, it's got.
I don't think people would have a problem. I don't think people would have a problem with it if they're not.
I don't know. I mean, personally, like I've just been reading, a lot of commentary about this online, and there are segments of the population that see this as another sign of Australia, kind of, this enclave, these enclaves kind of being built out even more, where the fabric of society kind of changes, and are we going to have a lot of these kind of bigger and bigger and bigger communities that are kind of completely separate from the rest of society? Is that kind of the path we're going down? And I know we already have a little bit of that, and and that just happens naturally. But is this kind of something more than that? Because we did see, I think in the US, in Texas, these plans were recently scrapped, but it was for a whole estate similar to this, like a whole town built in this same fashion. To attract, Muslim Americans to just come to this area, and it's like this whole development. I believe that's been scrapped now. So these things are happening more and more at a larger scale, and as the population centers, especially in outer urban suburbs and stuff, grow with these kind of populations growing. How's that going to make other people in that area feel as well? I think those questions are still valid as well. We had that lake in Berwick being renamed. After these things are happening.
I think there's multiple levels to that. I agree with that. I understand what you're talking about when you compare it to the lake that was renamed Nunagoon or whatever for the local Indian population, and it rubbed a lot of Aussies out. And I went down to the area. A lot of people, even the Indians, they didn't seem to know. They didn't even ask for it. I think this has a compounding issue because there is the hate element, and yes, they hate the Jews, but they also hate Australia. Australia. Am I
Australia.
So I think people have a legitimate right to be concerned. I think for both reasons. I think people can be concerned about the fabric of their, especially if you're from the area, and suddenly watch your area completely change. And I dare say that the value will probably drop if you have that massive thing come in there. I don't know, and then on top of that, like if you're from, even if you're not from that area, but you're from the country, from this country at all, and you're seeing hate preachers using essentially taxpayer money to be able to build these super complexes in which I can only imagine more hate is going to be bred from. And that's a dangerous future.
No.
Let's read these super chats, and there's a couple more stories. Oh, I got 4 more, so we better get a move on, mate.
Get a move on. Catherine, thanks. What meme would come out of Avi going to LA? I think she means like the Hong Kong meme that came out. China hustle.
Yeah, look, probably the best meme will be me getting like rounded up by ICE and kicked out because they think I'm a Mexican or something. And I'll be like, no, I'm Sri Lankan. What are you doing? Imagine that. Yeah, the lefties would laugh so hard if that happened. Like
they'd finally be for deportation. They'd be like, "Yep, great."
Bro, they were last time. Remember when I traveled to the
deported
US
from New Zealand?
When I traveled to US that time to confront what was his name?
Jim Jeffries.
And they called the FBI, and then I ended up getting deported on a technicality, and suddenly like the entire left were pro-deportation of brown people. It was insane. Rob, thanks, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate all these super chats. Tonight we're getting a lot of super chats, so I feel like people are voting with the viewers are voting with their feet on the project. They're voting with their wallets on the opposition podcast. I'm feeling really grateful and appreciate it. So thank you to everyone that is super chatting us tonight.
Pete, thanks, mate. Tell them you're Norman Gunston.
What is that
There
reference?
you go.
What is Norman?
I don't know.
Let's
It's from New
let's-
Zealand.
Norman Gunston. And who are we talking about? Norman? Is that a joke that I'm just missing? Gunston? Norman Gunston is a satirical character performed by Gary MacDonald, primarily known in Australia during the mid to late 70s. He's a fictional little Aussie bleeder and best known for satirical television show and music. Oh, this is so bad.
People will use this as evidence of the fact
that
that
we're not Australian.
immigrants. We're not Australian and we should be deported.
And it's funny. It's a Kiwi that's pointing it out to us here.
Hey, they're the ones that should be deported. The Kiwis.
Yeah, deport every Kiwi. What are they? 501 visas. So what? Here, let me pull. Hold on, shall I pull one up so we see what Norman Gunston is? Hey, let me pull one up so we can be more Aussie. Yeah.
Well, this is getting re-educated now.
No, yeah, we're going. Listen, I rather this than go to that super mosque or whatever that thing is going to be. Okay, I think this is it. Hold on. Hold on.
With me, yes. Like Norman Gunston, Hollywood. Well, look who's here with me. Yes, it's a great lady, a wonderful performer, and a very deep personal friend of mine, Miss Sally Struthers.
Hello,
Norman
Mr. Gunston.
This lady, Miss Sally Struthers, has won an Emmy. That's like the American version of a logie.
A logie?
Yeah, logie.
A logie?
It's the biggest thing that can happen to you in Australia, probably in the world. It's like, a logie's sort of like television's answer to the Nobel Prize.
Do you have a logie?
Oh, no, but I'm sure to get one this year. The big one, the big logie.
Okay, so it's like...
This is a quintessential Australian comedy from the 70s and 80s, it looks like. So
yeah, and
look,
that has a lot. That has a lot of views too. That's like, on some random account with 700 subscribers, it's got 869,000 views from 17 years ago, and we have no idea what that is. So, thank you for the Australian history lesson. Listen, I want to tell you, when I don't know what your excuse is because you grew up with a TV. I grew up in an ultra-Orthodox house. My excuse, I don't know any, TV references from when we were kids because we never watched anything till I what was it? When we were kids? What was it? What was a Spice Girls song or something that was really I knew all the lyrics not from ever hearing the song, but from hearing my classmates who were not religious singing it. So that's how sheltered I was. You don't have an excuse though,
mate. I'm South Asian heritage, so we were just studying. We weren't allowed to watch TV beyond educational programs. So that's
we've just proved the Nazis right. We are un-Australian, and I am still. I'm so un-Australian. I've got to learn how to say the word nowadays. Okay, Regina, thank you again for another
divide and conquer. Thanks, Regina.
I think that was in reference to I think Regina wrote that on the first one. I don't remember exactly what it was, but
religion.
Divide and conquer pretty much generally the theme of everyone always. Rob Metesky.
Yeah, freedom of religion as long as you're a Muslim.
And that's what tends to happen according to a big part of that community. I agree. They're all happy for freedom of religion and they preach freedom of religion. But it's more freedom of speech. It's more about freedom of speech because then they use the freedom of speech against us. And then when you dare use it, then they Charlie Hebdo is a perfect example. Rob says... I think
halal and we're all vegetarian.
I think Rob is because I didn't read the other one because there was a couple words in there that may have gotten us in trouble. So this was a cleaner version that Rob wanted to do. Appreciate the super chat. Here's just a super chat. So a shout out to Short Order Cook. Thank you for that
mate.
one. Regina's got another one.
Russell Coit. Oh my God, lol. I think it's more Australiana.
We're copying it tonight. We're getting outed.
We are. They've finally outed us.
We're done. Okay, let's go on to the next story. This one. Okay. We're going to go into a bit of what's happening internationally. So the LA riots, an interesting development that was being reported this afternoon our time.
Senator Josh Hawley joins us now. All right, Senator, Tulsi Gabbard just said that these riots in LA and all over the country are orchestrated. Can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, Jesse. These aren't spontaneous at all. They're about as authentic as AstroTurf. They are bought and paid for flash mobs. And I want to know who's doing the buying and the paying. That's why today I've launched an investigation. I've sent multiple investigative demands today to various groups out on social media claiming they are paying for this. They are organizing it. They are financing it. We've all seen the videos of vans driving up, handing out gas masks right before somebody blows up a car. It's time we found out, where's the money coming from? Who's really behind this? I think the American people deserve answers.
When they're saying don't believe what you see on TV, and there's no violence at all, doesn't that kind of remind you of the Biden cover-up?
Oh, 100%. It's the same thing. Don't believe your lying eyes. Meanwhile, they're out there blowing up cars on the 101. They're assaulting cops. They're rushing federal buildings. They're burning down shops. It's all on television. I mean, we can see it with our own eyes. I'm just glad Trump isn't letting the city burn. I mean, Gavin Newsom would allow his state to burn for the second time in a year. And the worst part is, somebody is paying for all of this, and they're trying to spread it, Jesse, just like you reported. They're trying to spread it across the country, to Chicago, to St. Louis, to Seattle, New York, everywhere. We got to figure out who is behind this. And by the way, why is the Democrat Party now basically an extended mental ward? I mean, what has happened to these people? They're nuts.
You know, you notice that CNN never even interviews anybody at the riot. We have clips of them, and you can see why CNN doesn't want to talk to them, because they look insane. Your colleagues in the Senate, do they support these people? Do they think this is good politically for the Democrat Party?
Well, that's what they're acting like. I mean, they're out there saying all peaceful protests, it's all peaceful. And by the way, this is Donald Trump's fault. I'm like, really? Donald Trump's fault? Gee, I missed it when Donald Trump went and blew up a car on Highway 101. I didn't see him when he was assaulting cops. What I saw was a bunch of lunatics who were waving the Mexican flag and other flags while they burned our own. And by the way, Jesse, we ought to penalize people who burn the American flag while they're committing a crime. If you do that, you ought to have your prison sentence doubled. It's time to get serious with these people. It's law and order time in America. No more of this nonsense.
So it's like an extra, 2 years if you burn a flag in the commission of a felony?
Absolutely. That's what I would do. If you want to go burn a flag while you're up there rioting, while you're assaulting cops, while you're blowing up cars, yeah, fine, go right ahead. Spend double the amount of time in prison. That flag means something to Americans. If you think that you can just burn it and get away with it, it's time that we disabuse them of that notion. The other thing I'd say, Jesse, is if these protesters want to have a place to protest, how about a nice jail cell? And right after that, how about a one-way ticket back to the country where they came from, never to see the United States again?
All right. Good to speak with you, Senator. Thank you.
There's a couple of interesting things there to unpack. Firstly, there is a push to make these riots spread, and you can see.
Well, I think it's already spread. It's already spread.
Well, it was pushed to spread, and certain states like Texas has gone ahead and called their own National Guard, saying they're not going to tolerate any breakdown of law and order. New York, and that there was already arrests there. But Gavin Newsom is very much just fighting. We talked about that before, but I think there's something about what they're saying here. The accusation that somebody's behind funding. And look, this always comes up. There is going to be, in all these protests, there is going to be kind of the sheep mentality of the different groups. So like your far left group, your Islamist groups, your pro-Palestinians, your Antifa. And then, of course, in this one, you'll probably have cartels and Mexicans and whatever that will naturally be attracted to it once it gets a bit of attention from the news. So as it spreads, but when they say that somebody's funding it, I think that there is very likely some truth to that. And it sounds like they've got that from what he said that there are people taking
I'll look into it.
credits. No, but there are people taking credit online.
Oh, yeah.
That they're funding, and that when you're seeing vans rock up and hand out, masks, somebody's obviously paid for those gas masks, and then they've committed those offences of fires or whatever. So there is some sort of coordinated funded thing. Does that mean the entire thing is funded and coordinated? Maybe just the beginning of it, which lights the spark. And you could do that in each little city. And I think that they're trying to cause essentially a civil war to a degree.
Yeah, there's elements of that for sure. I've also seen today there were a few TikTok videos that went out from all these kind of celebrities and influencers, and it's all kind of the same language and same messaging. I don't know if you can bring that video up, but
I saw. Oh, what was it? So let me see if I can find it. Because I saw something else. I saw an influencer saying that he was offered money.
Yes.
To
it's
follow
that.
a script.
Yeah.
Oh, you saw the one where he said he was offered?
No, I didn't see that. I actually saw the video that looked like it was a script, but there is this kind of force that's behind all of this, obviously linked to the Democrats in some way, that wants to destabilize the country and wants to make it difficult for the Trump presidency for this particular issue in terms of getting his mandate through on, deporting essentially illegal immigrants and criminals out of the country. So there's a massive push against Trump right now from these groups, and the videos and pictures that you're seeing of these vans that are, lining out masks or putting out bricks and stuff, that has to come with coordination, like you said, Avi. So whether that's grassroots or not, and you have these little organizations which are doing this, at the end of the day, when in other instances like BLM and stuff, once you actually looked into these organizations, it always goes back to like a sister organization or like a father organization, however you want to frame it, like Open Societies by George Soros, things like this. So this money trickles down, it goes to one organization, and it trickles down into all the grassroots organization, and it seems like they're not connected, but actually, when you actually look into it, they are all connected. So it's very kind of confusing to see it at first, and you need to do a lot of investigation to kind of follow the money. But that work is probably being done. And like you said, there's people taking credit for it. There's all these weird circumstances where you have these scripts and people saying the same thing. And of course, the Democrats are also on message as well. So pushing through their circles, this type of messaging out there as well. So everyone's kind of in unison in terms of their displeasure with Trump, their support of the rioters, the fact that they call these protests, I would say domestic terrorism, but they call it peaceful. They try to dismiss the violence. They try to say that the violence is very limited in some instances when they give any kind of ground on the particular issue. It's very obvious that these people are not interested in de-escalating. They actually want it to be the same or to escalate even further.
I couldn't find what you're saying
That's all right.
in there, but if you have it on hand, you can send it through and I'll bring it up. Well, just read the quick super chats before we move on.
Regina, thanks for the super chat. Please look at Russell Coit. Lol, you will love him. We will do.
Russell Coit, let me bring it up. Let's see. This sounds like it's going to be this one I know. This one I've seen plenty of.
Look, even the guns that I've seen. Yes.
Forbes and Montgomery insisted on using horses when travelling through the inland deserts of Australia. But had they used one of these a camel, they would have been a lot better off.
The other guy I didn't even recognise. So
other guy I recognised, but yeah.
You did recognise the other guy?
I did recognise him. I didn't put a name to the face, but when I saw the face, I knew.
I did not even recognise him, and guess what?
I just want to stay in this country. So I'm just being very careful with what I say. I'm Norman Gunston, 100%, 100%. What? Daniel James, add Norman Gunston to the citizenship test. There you go.
Deport Rukshan, hashtag. Guys, please, super chat away, deport Rukshan as many times as possible just so we get to say it. And there's nothing I can do. If it's a super chat, we have to read it as long as you don't say anything racist. If it's just about Rukshan, we can read it. Okay. Where were we? Okay, so next big story making news today. This one was an interesting development.
These tensions is looming as US President Donald Trump ordered some diplomatic personnel out of the region amid growing hostile relations with Iran. The US is preparing a partial evacuation of its Iraqi embassy in Baghdad and will allow military dependents to leave a host of regional locations, including Bahrain and Kuwait. Now, when asked what prompted the move, President Trump said the region, quote, could be a dangerous place, before adding that the US would not let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Well, that cryptic message may crystallize somewhat when digested with reporting from CBS News. Multiple US officials tell the American outlet that Israel has informed Washington that it was fully ready to launch an operation into Iran. CBS reports that US worry of Iranian retaliation on American assets in the region partly prompted the personnel shift ordered by Trump, and the president has of course repeatedly threatened military action against Iran should ongoing talks fail, and the Iranians have in turn threatened retaliation. Well, the US has been trying to renegotiate a nuclear deal with the Islamic Republic after Trump unilaterally pulled out of the previous deal in 2018. Another round of those talks is scheduled for Sunday, and it's understood that the US still plans on attending those talks, with Steve Witkoff set to meet Iran's foreign minister that day as well. Fears of an escalation, however, have impacted oil prices, causing a rise of over 4%.
I'm surprised they didn't show us the Trump thing. Okay, so this story is an interesting development, especially because of what's kind of happened. So I guess if we rewind back to the lead up, so the campaign, Trump campaigned heavily that he's, that Iran's not getting a thing, and that a nuke, and there's going to be, America's going to come in hard. And then what happened was probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, it looked like there was a shift in the tone from the Trump administration. It was being celebrated all over TikTok, every influencer getting excited. It looked like Trump was turning on Israel. That's the way it was being presented, because Trump wanted a deal. He was negotiating, he was stopping Israel from striking, and he certainly wasn't striking himself. Now, I was telling people on both sides at the time, chill out. This is like, Trump is the art of the deal. He wants a deal, but he's not agreeing to a bad deal. That's why he scrapped last time. So he's trying the diplomatic road, but it looks like those negotiations have stalled or are potentially failing. Or it looks like at the moment that they've failed. Iran says that they're not doing it or whatever. So what does it mean right now? What's happening? Like, is it a bit of a bluff at the moment to push the negotiations to keep going? Maybe. This was a pretty soft report. Some of the reports that I was reading is that they were evacuating a bunch of American bases and embassies anywhere in the region. So is it just a bluff to push them? It's been quite clear that the reporting has specifically stated that Israel was potentially going to do it without the support of America. Israel will not strike Iran without America approving.
Now they're saying that they've seen Israel's plans on what they plan to do, or that's been run past the US potentially. So look, all of this, I believe, again, is, like you touched on, Avi, a negotiating tactic of the Trump administration.
A caveat to that: does it mean Israel will not strike in America? I think they will.
They're leaving it out in the open.
Yeah, I think that Israel will 100% strike if there's no deal, because to Israel it's about their existence. As soon as Iran has a nuke, They're Islamists, they're jihadis, and they don't mind blowing themselves up as long as they get their enemy. So as soon as Iran gets a nuke, they'll fire it straight into Israel.
But for Trump, the whole signaling around, because he was asked about this at the Kennedy Center as he was entering, and they kind of put it to him. I don't know if you can find that clip, but the media kind of put it to him, what's going on here with Iran. And he kind of didn't give anything away. He's like, well, something could happen. Because they asked him about why have you guys...
Yeah, well, they quoted him. They quoted him in that now. I'll pull it up.
Taking the staff, right? And I think the whole thing is he's telling Iran, because there's been a few rounds of these talks. I don't think it's going the way that Trump hoped it would go, essentially. Iran's come out and said that they would, in a case of an escalation by the US, they would be more than willing to bomb their bases in that area, and they have the capacity to do that. They've openly said that as well, so they've kind of talked back smack towards Donald Trump. But Trump pulling out the staff in that region, I think he's saying that if it ever did come down to it, in the most unlikely scenario that it did come down to this thing where the US went into a hot war almost with Iran, we are prepared to go at any moment's notice and to bomb you guys if you don't come to some sort of amicable arrangement this time with a deal. Even we would be, forget Israel, even the US would be prepared to take action or join in potentially in action with Israel. So I think it's just signaling to them that they're ready for whatever comes from this deal. And I think it's taken a lot of people by surprise, this whole development in the background, because like you said, everyone's kind of been a bit mellow to this, and it's been like, la-di-da. But now all of a sudden it's like, embassy staff are being called out from the region. Trump's like, talking like, we could do something. Who knows?
Yeah.
So everyone's going to be the veg.
Let's see if this is it.
On Iran, you're in charge.
Say it again.
Yes, a question from Newsmax. Could you provide an update on Iran? We're hearing reports that U.S. personnel are being moved out of the region within striking distance.
Well, they are being moved out because it could be a dangerous place, and we'll see what happens. But they are we've given notice to move out, and we'll see what happens.
Is there anything that could be done to dial the temperature down in the region?
They can't have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. We're not going to allow that.
Mr. President.
So that's what.
So right. So that could mean absolutely anything. And you saw on the tariffs with China, he went toe to toe with China, and he was like, putting up these insane tweets like 100% tariffs. The Chinese are screwing us over. Kick out all the Chinese students. Get them out of the universities. Well, 2 days ago, he put out a tweet saying, we've deal with China's almost done. It's a great deal. China's great. The students, I've never really had a problem with them. They can come back. So a lot of the bluster that he has and a lot of this kind of rhetoric that he does, I truly believe it's just him. It's his style. It's like really hard to gauge from that whether we're going to World War III or not. I don't think you can read too much into it.
That's what I tell both sides. I seen, in that period where Jew-hating TikTok influencers were rubbing their hands together and they were so excited Trump's turning on. I'm like, mate, Trump is not turning on Israel. Trump is going to stick to that. This is what I can tell you. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I guarantee you Trump is not going to let them get a nuke. So Trump is trying the diplomatic. He's trying to get a deal, but it has to be a proper, real deal that ensures that there is no nuke.
Yep.
This is one of the things Trump wants as his legacy. He wants to be the guy that sorted the Middle East. That's why I'm still have hope that there's something with Gaza and Israel. Like it's actually he's going to sort it out because that's his incentive. He wants it. He wants to be remembered for it. But I guarantee you, either way, he's not turning his back on Israel and he's not blowing up the Middle East for nothing. But when the time comes, if push does come to shove, Israel will strike. And America, and they'll do it with America's either public blessing or like that. It'll be like, yes, we're moving people. It's too dangerous. They can't get a nuke. But it's all with their consent.
Yeah. I think America would publicly support such an action. I mean...
At the time when it happens, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think they will.
Let's quickly read these super chats and move on. There's a couple more other stories.
Cruel intentions. Thanks for the super chat. Kingswood County, Ted Bullpit. All for diversity. That could be New South Wales, is it?
Who is Ted Bullpit? Are they just tripping us up now? Cruel Intentions. I think there's a red flag. The name is Cruel Intentions. Thank you for the super chat, but I'm done. I'm going to fail whatever. Luckily, I was born here and they can't deport me because I'm going to fail whatever immigration tests they throw at us.
Rob McTest again. ACCP are rubbing their hands. UK, US, NIAUC soon on the CCP. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, they're loving it at the moment. But although, I don't know, it depends how it all plays out. Like, it's all been pretty chaotic at the moment, so we don't know. It depends. I have hope and faith that Trump is going to sort all this stuff, and the CCP and Russia and Iran and North Korea, they're all going to be... Because they're all nervously watching as well. They don't know either. And they're testing. Yeah. They're like kids. They're like teenagers. They're pushing. And then... when they get smacked down, then they go back a little bit, and that's kind of the negotiation with China, and that's the way you got to look at everything Trump does. It's like, don't stop freaking out. So stop freaking out by what he says, and just stop getting so excited by every crazy promise. That is, enjoy it for the entertainment that it is, and the results at the end. Let them speak for themselves, whether they're good or bad, because there are certain things that. Yeah,
it tends to land somewhere in the middle, you know. Like his final results of the things he does tends to be somewhere in the middle of like two extremes of what he's saying. You know, usually there's some compromise that he does. Listen to Effie from Acropolis Now and Norman Gunston sing Amigos Parasemphire. It's how to totally Australianize a classic. We're getting a full education today. And we've got to be careful with these super chats now. I think any super chats designed to test our eligibility for Australian citizenship they can
appear on screen, but they've got to be $10 plus. Like, if you're going to shame us, you got to make it worth it. Like, that's our price. That's our price. Yeah. Guys, we're appreciating your super chats. Keep super chatting away, even if it is just to prove that me and Rukshan are un-Australian. Australian. I can't wait till my kids start getting hold of the credit card and super chatting. Australia, Lian. One more super chat and then we'll go to the next story.
Thanks, Baz. Leave your money on the fridge. I believe that's a quote from something. So there you go.
Is this all part of that same theme?
I'm being careful, man.
I'm being super careful. I'm scared.
This is from JZZ. Have faith. Come on, Avi. I joined your Patreon. You're a good guy, but you're not paying attention. Trump does equal common sense. His strategy equals Machiavellian. This stuff is so basic. I send one more. Send one more. Yeah, I mean, he's a bit Machiavellian.
Yeah.
And his approach is common sense. It is basic, like underlying everything that Trump does, it is very simple. His entire strategic political play is very simple, but it's just discussed so much in the media, and everyone kind of tries to find things in every single word he says that we all end up confusing ourselves. At the heart of it, Trump is just like he's a world leader of the most powerful country in the world, regardless of what your views are. He's got a big stick. He's using that stick right now to achieve his aims, and he's not afraid to say and do things.
I want to know what I'm not paying attention to, though. What am I not paying attention to?
He's just saying in general. I don't know. He's saying have faith. Come on, Avi.
I didn't I say have faith? JZZ, I appreciate your support and your super chat and your Patreon. Hold on. I really am trying to understand. I'm taking this as constructive criticism because it sounds like a real fan, like somebody that's a supporter. Have faith, come on. No, is that a question? Have faith, come on, Avi. I join you. You're a good guy. That's the first time somebody's told me that, especially on this show. Can you read that part again? You're a good guy, Rukshan. Read that again. And over again.
You're a good guy, but you're not paying attention.
No, that's all. Just read that sentence.
I'm not reading that. I'm not reading that again.
But you're not paying attention. Trump does his common sense. I agree. I think what Trump does is common sense, but his rhetoric often you got to read it. You got to read it for what it is. Like, it's often hyperbolic, for an intention. So sometimes just for fun, to be fair, let's be honest. And sometimes he's a negotiator, and his negotiating strategy is to say the most outrageous, furthest thing. Like if he's trying to buy a car in business, and it's up for $30,000, he comes in and says, "I'll give you 10," right?
Yeah.
And you really were willing to sell it for 30, but he gets you down to 25 because he's so outrageous. That's just like his strategy. And I agree. Like I do mostly think he's common sense. I'm not going to say I know what he's doing with things like tariffs. I don't understand that stuff. But what I will say is he certainly has the mandate to do it. And I think we just have to wait to see how, at the end of the day, he'll be judged by its success. But it's something that he's really, he campaigned on, so 100%. Anyways, thank you for the support. I don't even know what I'm getting defensive about. What am I getting defensive about?
I don't know.
It's just annoying me because I don't understand what I need to be defensive about. Would Avi... Oh, here we go. Go, read it.
Would Avi rather be PM of Australia or Israel?
Australia for sure, because then I could turn it into Israel. Obviously.
Clip that video. I want to get everywhere.
I would rather not be Prime Minister of either. But I don't know. I guess is that like a test of my dual loyalty? Is that what that's the I'm guessing is the undertone of that. You know what? Thank you for your super chat. You can clarify in the next super chat for me, and I'll answer it. Stu. Oh, there we go. This is the kind of Aussies we
welcome
need.
To Australia, boys. Look, I mean, if you guys are paying us to be here, thanks. That's good.
Exactly.
Welcome.
That's probably the better answer for the last super chat. Whoever pays more.
This is from Rob again. Last one. It's Metsky. Not too difficult. Shukran.
Shukran. Shukran, Habibi. All right. Here. All right. Let's get back to the stories. Thank you all for the super chats. Keep super chatting. We'll get back to them in a minute. Next story.
Focus now elsewhere in Europe. 17 police officers were injured in the UK last night as hundreds of rioters attacked police and set fire to homes in Northern Ireland in what is a second straight night of violence. Authorities have described this unrest as, quote, racist thuggery. For more on all of this, we're joined now by CBS News foreign correspondent Chris Livesay. He's following developments for us from our London newsroom. Chris, good to see you again this morning. Help our viewers understand what sparked this violence. It's not an area or an incident we hear of too frequently.
Hey, Earl. Yeah, let me try and set the table for you a little bit. On Monday, 2 teenage boys appeared in court. They were charged in connection with the alleged sexual assault of a teenage girl. And here's what appeared to set people off. They spoke through a Romanian interpreter to confirm their names and ages. A wave of xenophobic anger followed and quickly turned violent, even though their nationality has not been officially confirmed. Over the next 2 nights, masked rioters attacked police with bricks, fireworks, and Molotov cocktails. Police responded with rubber bullets and water cannons. Several homes and businesses were damaged, windows smashed, doors kicked in, and one property set alight. Fires burned near the town's commercial center as groups of young men broke up the pavement to use as weapons. Now, some homes began displaying signs stating the residents' nationalities. British household or Filipino lives here could be seen on some of the doors. Police condemned what it called, quote, disgraceful scenes of violence. 4 people have been arrested and 33 officers were injured across the 2 nights. Now, calm was finally restored to Ballymena. It's a town of about 30,000 northwest of Belfast, shortly after 1 a.m. this morning. Officers are taking measures to prepare for possible further clashes. Errol?
Remarkable to see such a response with so few specific details known and confirmed. Chris, we appreciate you walking us through the latest. Thanks so much.
So it's interesting because you've got to, firstly, there's, again, as usual, when it's the mainstream media, there's a few layers to this story. So, firstly, you got to know how to interpret a mainstream media report on such issues. So this is CBS, and straight away it's a racist thuggery, whatever, and you have to learn to work through that noise, put it aside, and understand the context. The context here is where in the UK there has been a massive problem that's been swept under the carpet of heinous crimes, and anyone that's dared to call it out, like Tommy, have been demonized, have been silenced, have been deplatformed, have been criminalized, have been jailed. And so when any of the... Now, I don't know what the backstory is, but often when they do not immediately... Because even here they do that. When they don't immediately identify the perpetrator's race. So you, like, for example, if a white... Like the other day, there was a white guy that drove through a crowd in... Where was it? It was in the UK, I think.
In the UK, yeah.
In the
after
UK,
a soccer
right?
match.
And within minutes, they said white, male, right? So they do that specifically because, one, it's no problem demonizing white people, but two, it's to tell everyone, chill out, don't worry. Like, they're trying to stop riots because too often when there's a van plowing into a crowd, it's for ideological jihadi purposes, right? So whenever they don't mention it, it turns out to be a jihadi or whatever, like a refugee or a jihadi. And even in the case in those riots, how long ago was it?
2 years ago in the UK.
No, much short. Like it would have been. It was right before Tommy went to jail. So it must have been 8 months ago, 9 months ago. There was those riots, which they promised everyone he was a Christian refugee or whatever. And it turned out that he converted. It turned out that they completely gaslit everyone and they lied. So that's the context of this. So people are super sensitive for good reason when there are atrocious crimes being committed by people that they don't want to tell us who they are.
Yep.
And now, like, it almost automatically sparks riots.
Yeah.
And the media doesn't help itself in the way it reports it.
Yeah, but this has been, especially, this is Ireland, right? So I think I've been seeing over the last few weeks, there's been these anti-immigration style protests and Irish nationality style protests that have been happening, or pride protests in terms of, I think even Ezra was there, right? Covering some of this stuff for Rebel News. So it is a simmering issue, and you're seeing a lot of communities in parts of Europe, especially in the UK. It's kind of like this cauldron, it's like the kettle, it's like it's about to go off. And it definitely feels like that because people are really acting out now against law enforcement. They don't trust their governments to have their best interests at heart. They don't believe that, this existential threat that a lot of people in the UK, in countries like Ireland, that they see from the way that governments aren't handling issues like mass immigration and crime that's sometimes associated with this. They see it as really fundamentally impacting their way of life. Country. In this instance, I believe a young woman is alleged to have been attacked by two immigrant kids, and that's why they've allegedly gone after their houses and try to burn the houses down and things like this. But that only happens when there's a massive breakdown in law and order in a country. So, that's kind of the truth of it. But the media, even in this instance, they were like, oh, well, how can they do this without enough details? Like, it's kind of like, why are they doing this? They don't touch on the sensitivities of what's led up to it, if that makes sense. It's always like a new incident. It doesn't actually touch on the fact.
I don't know if it's just me, but it looks like something happened with your computer. I don't know, you blacked out for a second and your computer has come. Oh, there, now you're back. The timing that
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. It was only for a second, it jumped.
It went to Sri Lankan timing.
It went to Sri Lanka, and then it was like you were talking, and it was behind it. Yeah, I totally agree with everything you're saying.
But yeah, That's my point. You know, like it's always like a new incident, like when it's covered, but there's all these underlying historical reasons for why these people now are throwing rocks at the police. Like I've seen some of that footage, and they are, you know, attacking the police or whatever, and it does look like violent thugs and mobs and stuff. But you know, if you look at the actual underlying issue, like that whole community there is angry. They're angry at law enforcement. They're angry at the situation they find themselves in. And maybe it's uncalled for, and maybe like we don't know the identities, and like, you know, they always kind of hide these things. But if it turns out, again, like more often than not, the people are on the money, then maybe they are justified in trying to get something done so there's permanent solutions to some of these issues. Because Ireland, I think, is really, well, there's a lot of people in that part of the world that I hear that talk about there being an existential threat from what's happening because of mass migration.
Quickly before JZZ's going to bed, so he's got a few super chats we quickly want to read. JZZ, thank you for another super chat. Go on, read him, Rukshan, before he gets to bed.
I think spontaneously, but I have already written the SC message. But why are you getting defensive? Why does anyone get defensive? Why does Antifa get defensive? Weak minds, not you.
All right, thank you for clarifying at the end, because otherwise I would have got defensive about being called Antifa or referred or compared to Antifa. Really appreciate the super chat. I get what you're trying to say in that one. Go for the next one.
JZ said, "You're not just a good guy, Avi. You're a great guy. I can help you. If you help me, to help you. To help me, I have the brain capacity to articulate it. You have the capacity to platform it. My goodness."
My best part of that comment. Thank you, JZZ. Oh. There goes Rukshan. He's back. You back? Are you back? Talk.
Yeah. Is my camera out?
Yeah, your camera's out. You jumped out and you jumped in. It's very suspicious and convenient that you're suddenly having problems when you have to read comments that says you're not just a good guy, Avi. You're a great guy. I want to point.
I'm still here.
Okay, so now you're black. There, he's really Sri Lankan now. And just read JZZ's last comment. Appreciate all your comments.
I'm going to go to sleep. Don't have time for this, respectfully. This part of an unbelievably complex phenomenon known as modern leftism. PM me. I'll send you a Bible-length explanation. It's getting really deep now.
I know. I don't know how I PM you. How do I PM you? I don't know how to PM. But I appreciate all. Send me an inbox, avi@rebelnews.com. Send me your thing. I really appreciate you've done a few super chats tonight. And it is people like you that make this possible. So thank you and good night to you, JZZ. What I took away from all your comments is that I'm not just a good guy, I'm a great guy, and Rukshan is Antifa. Gotcha. Stu. Oh, yes, Stu. He's smart. True. Don't forget to hit like and please subscribe. Guys, whatever platform you're watching on now, especially YouTube, we're doing lots of lives at the moment. Subscribe to the channel. Like whatever platform you're watching on this, you're watching this on now. We've got over 9,000 people across platforms. Hit the like button on the actual live because that helps the algorithm on most of these platforms. Then ensure that you, share it because I know we're coming towards the end of the show, but it's you guys that make it, that help spread it and grow it. We're going to do the opposite of the project and Q&A, but that relies on your help. You need to want to share it. And then finally, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you get notified next time. So thank you, Stu. It almost sounds like you're working for us, but you're doing the opposite. You're actually supporting us financially. So I appreciate all these super chats. We're getting a lot tonight, and I'm really grateful for all of them.
It's from Rob. I'm okay now. The last note. CCP around Bass. Notice all the CCP around Bass. The CCP around Bass.
I don't know. I haven't noticed. I haven't been around there. So, is Bass? Oh no. Where's Bass? Where's Bass?
I don't know. I thought like the Bass in the sea. I think the ocean, the Bass Strait.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because there was a CCP doing stuff around that area, weren't they? Doing some reconnaissance or whatever.
Well,
they were doing.
There's a place there's a Bass in Victoria. I don't know if you're referring to that. let us know. Thanks, Rob. And can you read it, or are you busy fixing your stuff?
Yeah. No. I just put my webcam on. Ex-Sweetie says, no test, just curious. Love both your work. Oh, okay. He's not testing us. He's not testing us.
Oh, thank goodness. I feel like we failed every Aussie test. Thank you for the super chat, guys. Really appreciate them. Let's get back to. I've got a couple more. I've got exactly 3 stories left to hit tonight, and I know it's getting late, but we have to hit the stories we got on the agenda. So we're going to just go ahead with it. Are you with us? You've gone black on me again.
I'm here, man.
Moira Deeming has been referred to the state's corruption watchdog over an 11th hour peace offer. State political reporter Rochelle Brown is here to unpack it all. Rochelle, it's thrown the Liberal Party into turmoil again.
Well, Mike, this was described as a final offer to try and save the Liberal Party from any pain, but it may indeed cause the opposite effect. Now, this offer did also come with a set of very interesting conditions. Under the proposal, the ex-leader would have to pay around $750,000 up front, and then he'd be given a 2-year reprieve to pay the rest of the $2.3 million legal fees. On top of an apology, Moira Deeming demanded a guaranteed second term in Parliament. It's that clause that has sparked another fire for the Liberal Party to put out. A member of the public has now referred Mrs Deeming to the state's corruption watchdog. Now, IBAC is supposed to assess these kinds of complaints within about 45 days, but it has been criticised for being one of Victoria's slowest integrity bodies, meaning it could drag on and hang over the Liberal Party for up to 12 months. And as you can imagine, Mike, that could seriously hurt them in the lead up to the state election.
Yeah, indeed. And Rochelle, this offer seems pretty steep too.
Well, I understand that the offer has been rejected, but John Pesutto does say that he also made it clear to the party that it was a matter for them only to consider. And now, under this deal, former Premier Jeff Kennett today hit out at it, saying it's tantamount to blackmail. The opposition leader was questioned about that dispute this morning. He said it was a difficult time for the party and agreed that it absolutely was frustrating him, but he refused to make any further public commentary around it. Now, John Pesutto is still hoping that the party will bail him out of this entire saga. His loan request will be discussed, Mike, at a meeting next Thursday.
A lot more to play out on this. Rochelle, think.
Okay, so look, it's interesting. A bit this one's really interesting because, firstly, we both unashamedly fully support Moira Deeming. We have the whole time. Yes. We've cheered her on. And I can understand both sides of this particular argument. So the offer, if you read, the offer itself was mostly okay. It's just that one clause of guarantee me pre-selection in the upcoming, before the next election, right?
Next election, yeah.
Now, I understand from her point of view why she would want that, because potentially we don't know what's going on behind the scenes in the Liberal Party because of everything she's done. They may well be trying to push her out. So she's saying, no, I want to be guaranteed my spot because I haven't really been given a proper chance to be the Liberal MP that I was voted in to. But that I was pre-selected last time and voted in by my constituents to be, and it's true. I think that's a fair argument. However, on the flip side, it is also kind of undemocratic. It goes against probably the, it probably goes against the Liberal thing to do that, like the Constitution.
But what democratic though? It's not like the people are voting for who gets to have pre-selection.
No, but no. I mean, yeah, they do internally.
I'm saying it's an internal thing. Like,
but that's part of the That's part of the democratic process. Is the fact that the Liberal Party. So you join the Liberal Party, you become a member, you get a vote, and that's how that whole branch stacking thing works. Of course, is people go in.
So they haven't been doing it democratically.
Sure, but it goes against the core principle of it. So I understand her perspective on it. I also understand the argument of it, like, not being democratic. However, you make a good point, is the whole thing's freaking corrupt. If you really want to go to IBAC with the complaints of pre-selections, look at how many are branch stacks. Look how many scams. Look at how much dodgy stuff goes on behind the scene. She's being quite open about it. I would love for her to publicly explain her reasoning. I imagine, looking at it, it's something like what I'm saying, where they're trying to push her out because they just want to end this whole saga. She never actually did anything wrong. They're not, because I know they're not really, even people that are supportive of her just want it to end now and kind of like whatever, she's back in and then they'll get rid of her in the next round because she's too much trouble. But I think we need fighters like Moira in there. So I don't know. Do you agree with that clause?
Oh, look, I think it's in. I mean, look, I feel like it's internal party stuff, and this is kind of the way that they negotiate, their positions in that party.
How are you talking and you're just not, and you're blinking? Oh, it's gone to slow mo. Oh my god!
It's gone to slow mo. I'm just going to turn my screen off so I don't disorientate people. But is that all right? I'm on the Sri Lankan now.
Go on. We can hear you.
You can hear me? Is my screen changed now?
I think it's just going slowly, but that's fine. Just say what you're saying.
I want super slow-mo. Yeah, but look, I don't necessarily agree with the underlying way that it's been done, but I just imagine that's just how it is within the Liberal Party, like to get things done, to secure your position, to negotiate. Because what did we hear during the whole time during that court case, Harvey? What we heard from the Liberal leadership was there are certain way that things are done within our party that might not make sense to the rest of the world, but this is how we do things, and we do them internally, and we negotiate. We sort things out in the background. So it could be something like this, right? And this whole thing about a member of the public, the day after this was revealed, putting a complaint to IBAC. It screams like a setup. It's just a perfect timing. It's very convenient for people like Jeff Kennett now to come out against Moira, especially when she was kind of crushing them on this particular topic, and she had a lot of the public backing to now kind of try to flip the thing around.
It is kind of rich. It is kind of rich to come from them.
It all seems very kind of planned, and it's like a last ditch Hail Mary type attempt to we kick back Moira, and maybe they'll feel like, oh, maybe she might negotiate something better now for John or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? It just kind of feels like that. And the whole thing about a member of the public coming out and reporting it to IBAC, it feels like the guy that we had a week or so ago with Aiden that came on the show. Like who's sitting around straight away to put complaints to IBAC, and go through that process. Like, who's doing that, really? I'm just being completely honest.
Yeah. And it is a bit fun. It does seem like an opportunity for them to delegitimize everything like she's doing, like to make her look dodgy. And like it's another form of character assassination. Like I said, I do understand with what she's saying. I don't know enough about how the Liberal Party actually operates. I do know about all the branch stacking and the dodgy stuff that goes on. But I don't know if, according to the Constitution, this would be dodgy, or do they sometimes guarantee pre-selections? Maybe they do. Maybe they already do. I don't know.
It must be something that they do. And like, I don't know who wrote that document or what happened, but if she was getting advice from other people within the Liberal Party and they were like, they okayed that as well, either she was being set up the whole time by them. Yeah. Again, I'm just putting this out.
I would love to hear from her, but I feel like the reasoning behind it, I can completely understand that they're trying to push her out. She wants to at least guarantee herself a proper run in the next election, so that she can actually serve for a long time. And I personally, as a massive fan, I want her to be pre-selected. I want her to win. I want her to be in the next parliament, because we need brave voices like her who are willing to stand up and speak truth to power, even within their own party, especially within the Liberal Party of Victoria, because if we lose her, what are we left with?
Yeah, I agree 100%.
All right, 2 more stories. Let's smash them out, because even your internet's giving up on us. This is a random one. This is a random one out of left field. Here we go.
Red-hot plan to combat crime. The government announcing a 12-month trial of their latest weapon against antisocial behaviour.
Come 1 September, law-abiding Territorians over the age of 18 years will be able to legally purchase OC spray for personal use to self-defend themselves against perpetrators.
The trial is set to be overseen by the NT Police Firearms Unit. The kind of pepper spray, who can buy it and how to regulate it, all to be addressed during consultation with stakeholders in coming weeks.
This is the start of the conversation, and so the consultation phase and how we're going to go about the implementation is stuff that we will release more information about in the coming days and weeks.
On the streets, mixed feelings.
Really helpful because this will protect the people from any attacks.
I think weaponising the populace is a very bad idea. It could be used to harm people. I think that's a very likely outcome of it.
The president of the NT Police Association says members are already raising concerns.
How do we know if we're going to attend a job and OC spray is going to be used against our police officers?
Right now, West Australia is the only jurisdiction where it's legal to buy pepper spray. Legal practitioners warning community education is key.
There is quite a lot of people out there with OC spray thinking that it is lawful to have on their possession at all times, not knowing the laws.
The Labor opposition and Greens say arming civilians will encourage vigilantism and say it's proof measures introduced so far to reduce crime haven't worked. Several medical and justice organisations have also warned the move could encourage violence at a time where the Territory should be focused on reducing tensions in the community. Olivana Lathouris, ABC News.
I've got a lot to say on that, as most issues, but this is something I've been campaigning for years. Are you with us, or you've just...
I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you again.
No.
Yeah, we can hear you. We just your video is cracking up on us. So this is something like we started the petition legalisepepperspray.com, I think it is. But I've been campaigning for this for a long time, and it's so funny to hear the arguments that they make against it, right? So it's great that they're going to trial it, and good on them. And I think this is the most basic right we should have as citizens, to hold defensive tools like pepper spray. It's a defensive tool. So, like they said, the concern that they give is that criminals are going to use it to commit crimes. Show me one place where that happens. In WA, it's legal. Where do you see them use? Nobody's using pepper spray. If somebody wants to attack you, they're going to use an offensive tool. They're going to use something to smash your head in. They're going to use something. They're not going to go to the shop and spend money to rob you. They're not going to, because you can only, there's like a limited amount of it. Like, it doesn't happen. So it's a fake, it's a straw man argument. It's based on nothing besides for either, it comes from people who want us to be reliant on either the police or the police union, whatever, wants us completely reliant on the police because that's their job. Oh, we've lost Rukshan. What's going on with the internet in Sri Lanka? This is what I'm wondering. Let's see if he calls back in. Oh, here he goes. Oh, here he goes. Mate, what is going on there? Luckily, we're at...
I've never experienced that kind of problem before. That was so weird.
You've been...
only in Sri Lanka you get that technical issue, the local issue.
Anyways, I think that the arguments are baseless. It's generally coming from people that want you to be reliant on them. So the police union wants you to rely on police, but police never get there in time. If you're under attack, I think in Victoria we really want it. With these, forget banning machetes. Make at least pepper spray legal so I can walk around and defend myself if a gang of people will come up to me with machetes. It's actually a really good defensive tool that makes... All it's designed to do is to stun the people, make them stuck for a few seconds to give you enough time to get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, I think a lot of people would feel a lot safer if they had this. And I know there's been a few politicians like David Limbrick and so forth who have argued for this very passionately. The only flip side I might see to this, negative, maybe unintended consequences, maybe some of these teens might start carrying around pepper spray as well.
Mate, it doesn't happen. That's what I'm saying to you.
I know that.
Show me that it happens. But why would they spend money to do that? Why? For what purpose? Just to make people have watery eyes.
Yeah, but I think there can be a way of maybe not over regulating it, but just kind of a way of maybe getting the pepper spray or something where we can carry it legally. I know it sounds contrived that we have a license for having pepper spray, but just encouraging responsible use. And I know maybe I'm going too far with this for some people.
You are, but
just the way that we have criminality in the state of Victoria.
I can understand that argument for guns.
Yeah.
I can understand that argument for guns. I'm pro. I think we should be allowed to have guns for self-defense, but fine. You don't want to go there. A defensive tool like pepper spray, you can regulate how it's sold to ensure
how
that
it's sold. Maybe that's probably better. Yeah.
Sure, but
you don't want kids having pepper spray,
and
you don't want pepper spray available to kids at a shop.
But you also don't want the police to be able to determine who. Like it seems like in the NT they're saying who, when they say a lawful NT resident or whatever, what does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean if someone has any sort of conviction they can't get hold of, like, do they not deserve the right of self-defense? Everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not a tool that's ever used around the world. There is no data that shows that pepper spray is used by criminals because it's just not worth it. It defeats the purpose. Why would you go and get pepper spray? Like, fine, if you're going to steal pepper spray, but then you just use a machete. Then you'll use a baseball bat. If you want to attack somebody, pepper spray is just the first tool for that. It's not. That's not the final attack. It's used to create time, so that you can get distance, so you can get out of there. It's not. I don't think that they should make it hard at all. I think they should empower the community to be able to safely and proudly walk down the street. And if more civilians are carrying pepper spray around, if I witness somebody attacking somebody else, I won't be worried to walk up there and go, hey, stop that. And if they don't stop, I will spray them. And what's the worst that's going to happen is that, how many times do we see violent men attacking women on the street like junkies? You see that and you're just like, people are too worried to go in there and do anything. Well, here, if citizens around, law-abiding citizens around, are witnessing that, and I know I'm using the same terminology as the police. When I say law-abiding citizen, I mean the person that's not committing the offence in that moment. People are around and see that injustice, they can step in and not be afraid to subdue the guy, or at least create the distance for her to get out of there.
Yeah, no, I get you. I was just trying to play the devil's advocate and see, like, just in this, the state of how Victoria is, and just how criminality works. I just feel like, all these things are just because our law enforcement is just not there. That's just the only reason. Our law enforcement is just not there, and I just feel like it's a perfect recipe for just something more disastrous. But I'm fully for arming Victorians with any type of weapon that's possible, because again, the other side of this is that the law enforcement is not there to help Victorians. So if it's pepper spray, that is the only weapon that we can have to help ourselves in a crisis, especially for people who might not be able to defend themselves, like women, as easily against some of these weirdos that are out there. Then so be it. So,
but even men, like that 18-year-old that I did the story on today, pepper spray would have saved him from that beating that he copped at a birthday party. So, I think it is something, and I'm glad that at least it's in the conversation. At least they're talking, and there actually looks like in NT, which they've got major problems with youth crime. It looks like they're actually about to legalise it. So we're going to have more data in Australia to show that argument is absolute nonsense. Quickly, we'll do the last few hopefully more super chats come while we do the last story. So I've got one more story left. We've had a great night. We've packed a lot into today's session, but that's why we've gone for over 3 hours. So I've got to bring an old comment up because the next super chat actually refers to this. This was Stu, who said, don't forget to hit like and please subscribe. And actually, we're on 9,000 across all channels, 9,384 people watching live. So it's up to you guys. We need you to get us past that 10,000. So yeah, hit that share and encourage your friends and family to subscribe to the channel. And to tune in at least now, or they can go back and they can end up watching it after the fact. I think it's been a really good show. And don't forget also to hit the notification, subscribe to the actual channel and hit that notification bell. But in response to Stu, again, thank you for that super chat, Stu. In response, Cruel Intentions says, go on, this is your job.
You can't tell me what to do, Stu. You're not even my real dad. That's also a phrase from a movie or a TV show. There you go.
But that's actually funny. Good on you, Cruel Intentions. I appreciate that one. Also the super chat. But I do like when there's a bit of banter.
Yes.
I live for banter. Like I'm barely ever serious. We hang out a lot. I basically crap on you all day. You're actually pretty good at taking it.
I'm pretty good at giving it as well. I just tame myself online.
I
maintain
know.
My my respectability.
Am I the same as I am in person? I just have zero filter. I probably swear more. That's probably the only difference. I swear when I'm not online. What have we got here, Rob?
Rob, thanks, mate. Karen Bass press a release. That's from the LA mayor or whatever, Karen Bass. She's completely unhinged.
They're all unhinged, and they want the destruction and the devastation.
they say that it's peaceful, but then they're like, oh, we got to have a curfew. But if it's peaceful, why do you need a curfew? So I mean, they're just all over the place. Obviously, it makes no sense.
What have we got here? Another super chat from Regina. Thank you, Regina.
Martin Bryant was a scapegoat, in my humble opinion. That's a very a complex topic to touch on. Port Arthur and the fallout from that. Obviously, that led to the gun buyback and all of that. And
look,
there's been a lot of contentious views on how that all kind of came about. So I don't think we have the time to get into that today.
No, and to be honest, I don't know. I cautiously tread when I read, because I've witnessed too often when people draw up pictures and show angles and have all these theories about things that I've seen with my own eyes, and I was there, and they've even at times done it when we were reporting in lockdown protests. So I tread carefully, but what I can tell you is 100% the overreaction from the government at the time. They used that horrific situation for the gun buyback, which they still celebrate as a win, and I think long-term history will record that as a massive mistake in Australian history. And going back to some of the stories of what we've covered tonight, there are certain communities that are pretty armed up, and we're defenseless. And in the future, when we're outnumbered, just look at other countries. We're going to be in a whole world of trouble, because we're the ones without the guns. JZZ, who went to sleep, has come back from the dead with a massive super chat. So thank you, JZZ. You've smashed the super chats. I really appreciate it. Let's see if we understand what...
let's try to decipher this.
Let's hope you're not attacking.
This is like the Da Vinci Code. Let's have a read. Do not give that of which is holy to the dogs. Do not cast your pearls before the feet of swine. Oh, this is a verse, I think. For they will unknowingly but ignorantly trample them under their feet, tear them to pieces. Matthew 7:6.
I love
it.
it.
I left in TD chat as a member comment.
I love how he's using the super chat to preach. I want it.
Yeah, I think he's saying something like, "Don't lower yourself before these kind of irrelevant.
I understand it, but I'm like, I like how he's got that'd be Bible verses. That's a good Christian way to do this. Is make us read Bible verses here on the live feed. JZZ, there's another one from. Are you paying attention?
Paying attention when he sees $50.
100%.
He's definitely paying attention to a super chat.
That is
That's
one
what it's
way. That is the best way for a Christian to get to get the attention of this little Jew. Mate, go to sleep. Good night. We've got one more story for tonight. Let's hit this last super chat and then we'll get to
Catherine, thanks again. Are you going to do a Patreon for the opposition podcast? Are you going to do it? Yeah. Well, we don't really. There might be future plans. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We started this in your old studio back in the day, and then we had this whole hiatus, and it was very different back then. I'm having fun with this new kind of way we're doing it. And the fact that we have super chats and people getting it, like this is a work in progress. We're learning. I'm having a lot more fun than I was when we were doing it once a week, and then when you quit for ages and whatever. We won't talk about that. That's a touchy subject. But I don't know where it's going to lead. It's going to go wherever it goes. All I know is for now we're having fun just building on it. And if you guys have any ideas or any suggestions, let us know. And especially if there's $50 attached to it, we will take it into real consideration.
100%.
All right, last story of the night. Let's smash it out.
Security experts and former White House insiders are tonight sounding the alarm after the Trump administration launched a review into AUKUS. But Defence Minister Richard Marles is downplaying the move, saying the nuclear submarine deal is on track.
Australia's underwater defence tonight under review and under threat.
Well, I'm very disturbed at this news.
Under Secretary Elbridge Colby will run the ruler over the $350 billion AUKUS deal, despite previous scepticism.
My concern is, why are we giving away this crown jewel asset when we most need it?
An incoming government having a look at this is something that they have a perfect right to do, and we welcome it and we'll work with it.
Defence Minister Richard Marles says he was given warning of the inquiry by counterpart Pete Hegseth in Singapore recently. At the same meeting, Secretary Hegseth asked Australia to up its defence spending.
If AUKUS falls over, we will all pay a heavy price for it.
We're not just writing a cheque, but we're actually directly in the supply chain for the enhancement of the US Navy.
As well as threatening access to the Virginia-class and SSN AUKUS-class boats, any change would threaten tens of thousands of jobs in Adelaide and Perth.
It's what we did, it's what the UK have done, and it's now what the Americans are doing, and we get it and we'll work with them on it.
Like with any arrangement, Kieran, you've always got to keep making the case.
But two former Prime Ministers and the Greens are calling for Australia to use the opportunity to walk back the deal.
Of course AUKUS should be scrapped. The question is, when will Labor have the courage to do that?
AUKUS still enjoys strong support in this Parliament and the US Congress, but like so much in America, it will ultimately come down to Donald Trump, and in not so coincidental timing, the President is set to meet the Prime Minister in the days ahead. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
So what I'm wondering is, firstly, John Bolton, I was just looking it up because I can see he's getting reported a fair bit on it. Was John Bolton the one that actually signed AUKUS, like the one that organised?
I don't know if he signed it, but he might have been.
Did John Bolton?
Did he sign it? Did he? I don't know. He's the laptop.
So, I'm just.
What's John Bolton saying?
No, I'm just trying to understand why everyone's like focused on John Bolton regarding this AUKUS thing. Was he the one at the time that? Was he the one that organises? Was that in his period? He had 17 months with Trump in the last.
It would have been. It would have been in the first administration. John Bolton was there.
John Bolton was there for 17 months, and then he had a fallout with Trump. So, my point is, it's funny how they go to an anti-Trumper now
he's full anti-Trump
to kind of make it look more chaotic. I don't know if there's. I didn't get a chance to look at it, but. Maybe he was the one there, and that explains it. But no one really reporting that. So I get the feeling that the media's just gone, or he's put himself forward as somebody to undermine the Trump administration. And that's why you got to you've got to always look at these things and question like the motive of these people, because it's politics, not just, especially in America, even more so than here. But it's like here you have Turnbull and and especially Turnbull. Actually, Turnbull and Rudd, when they suddenly come into a room and start discussing stuff, you're like, all right, why are you here? Who are you attacking? And it's the same there. So the whole thing with AUKUS, isn't normal that they review stuff. Probably.
I mean, look, the timing is interesting because the US did put out a bit of I think Marco Rubio or someone made a comment about the Australia, New Zealand, Canada putting sanctions against those Israeli ministers and undermining the interests of US national security and their efforts in Israel and Gaza.
That's a good point. I didn't even think of that.
So there is that element to it. And there's a few other things as well where it feels like, in terms of Australia and the US, they're not really aligned.
Not now, no.
And there's a bit of resistance there from the Australians. So, and it also could be like Trump just throwing in a wrench, like the news report said, that they are going to be speaking on the sidelines of that meeting that's coming up, Trump and Albo potentially. And this really just makes Albo sweat. I mean, this deal is of no consequence whatsoever to the US, really, if you look at it. Australia needs it if they want it. And it just makes them sweat. He makes it a part of the Australian conversation. It puts all that in Albo's head, and it just gives Trump the advantage when he sees him. You know what I mean? So it could be a number of these things at play here. But I do feel like Australia, in terms of its alliance with the US, it is, on testy waters, as much as we like to pretend that, we're all there for it. If you're having, I wouldn't see a time where like a Penny Wong would come around and, put these kind of sanctions against a, these Israelis.
It's funny. I didn't even think of that. Of that.
These sanctions against the Israelis when the US is very heavily in favor of supporting as well as trying to orchestrate whatever peace negotiations are happening there. This kind of throws a wrench in that, a spanner in that, for the US, it makes it a bit difficult when you have Canada, NZ, and Australia interfering in that way. So my point was it could be something as simple as that's caused them to react like this to Australia.
It could be that. It could be like some of the comments are saying America, like Trump just actually wants to keep his subs because he needs them. Although I find that one maybe a little bit more difficult to believe, just because I think it would help the states to have assets here, even if we own it. Although since there is a kind of diversion of the alignment, that maybe America doesn't look at Australia having those subs as helpful for us, because they can see that Australia is actually drifting away. Australia, Canada, and the UK going off on this like lefty loony, but I think that might be short-sighted. The UK is probably going to shift back, hopefully. Canada definitely. I think Australia were behind, but who knows? It could be any of those reasons. I hope it doesn't fall apart, because what are we going to do if we don't get it? Like, our military,
we need some weapons.
We've got nothing. We are sitting ducks here for China.
Yeah, we are. I mean, we need to obviously heavily militarize even more with the way the world's going.
And especially now that we think we're so brave that we're going against the US interests.
Yeah, exactly.
You just did the Indian thing.
I did the Indian thing because I'm in Sri Lanka right now, so it just comes naturally. But yeah, like we're so reliant on these alliances. But if we did have to perhaps stand on our own feet for some minor issue, it's good to know that we are prepared and we do have the technology that's not outdated to be able to take on China, because China is playing around in our waters. China is actually a leader now in technology. This is not a country that requires, American technology as much as it used to, even though it tries to steal their technology still. They have the capability. I mean, they're building drones, they're building submarines, they're building warships at a rapid rate. So we are like years and decades behind. So, and the best that we can do is get secondhand submarines from the US. And even that just puts us on par with the help of our allies. So I think there's a lot here that Australia needs to do to mend its relationship with the US administration. And Albo will definitely have to be doing some ass kissing when he sees Donald Trump, whether he likes it or not, because that's what Donald Trump expects of people like Albo, which I think he has very little
and I
respect
think
for.
beyond ass kissing, I don't think he falls for that even. Like we've seen.
No, he doesn't fall for it, but he's saying you got to kiss my ring and accept.
But I think
accept the
Australia needs
position.
to. I think Australia, the Australian government needs to reconsider their new little alliance between Labor in Canada and essentially Labor in Labor in
UK.
Canada and Labor in the UK, thinking that they're like this new superpower when they're three little jokers, and they're going to end up getting punished in these ways, and we're going to suffer because we're going to end up with no friends left. What are we going to do? Go back to the French and ask them for those subs? Like, what are we going to do? And we're going to be stuck here with no real alliance, no one to defend us, because let's be frank, if China wants to come and eat us up, at this point, if we don't have America, they'll come and eat us up. And I am not in the mood of learning Mandarin.
No, definitely not. I mean, having said that, though, you could go out there and learn Mandarin very easily in Australia if you wanted to.
If you go to Bass. All right, I think we're wrapping up the show. We've got one more. Jay-Z's come back to tell me off for $10. Jay-Z, I really appreciate it. Like, I've never had anyone tell me off and pay me to tell me off. Go, read it.
Jesus Christ, Harvey, I ain't no Christian. Just because someone cites something possibly from the Bible doesn't logically flow that they're even religious. I cited it as a principle.
Okay, fair point. I accept that. Yeah. I just assumed you were Christian, and I thought it was a clever way to force me to listen to, what do you call it? The gospel or whatever? No, that's a. What's the gospel? The gospel's the gospels.
There's the gospels, yeah. It's the gospel of whatever. There's different ways of saying it.
Do you get offended when people, because you're obviously Catholic, do you get offended when people use Jesus Christ in this way?
No, I don't get offended.
Some people do, because I get told off.
Some people might do. Yeah, I don't get offended. No.
Isn't it like blasphemy?
Yeah. But if you listen to the message of the Bible or Jesus Christ, those things shouldn't offend you, or you shouldn't care about those kind of things.
Do you? Why don't you have Christ is King in your bio?
I don't know. I personally don't believe that. You need to. It depends on what reason you're doing that for. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not living that my whole life, all the time. I'm not living that. You know, if I was a preacher, if I was like in that kind of same type of thing, yes, potentially I could write something like that. But as a political commentator, you know, it's not Christ is King is not my mantra for that, for sure. But even though I am a very
do you believe Christ is King?
Catholic, yeah, well, as a Roman Catholic, yes. I mean, yeah, I don't know if in those terms, it's not something that we generally say. I don't ever remember as Catholics saying Christ is King or anything like this. It's not really like that. I think this is more of a New Age type thing that people say that Christ is King. What have
you got for the weekend before we shut up here and we're giving people... Actually, I'm just dragging out another 2 minutes because we're at 9,725 live across the platforms. And I know that everyone at home is listening to Stu and sharing this live so that we can at least log off with the 10,000. So we've got just over 250 more people we need live to make it. So we'll listen to what you've got for the rest of your weekend before we shut off. What have you got on for the weekend there in Pakistan?
In Sri Lanka, I am right after this call. I'm actually going to my local physio here to get some treatment done on my leg, and it's actually getting good. So the Sri Lankan podiatrist or whatever is doing good work.
A better job than you were getting it. Did you go to anyone in Australia? In Australia. It's such a tongue twister for me, the LIA. Did you see somebody here?
I saw, but just with the timing of travel and everything, it was just difficult to book.
I just want to know, is it better there?
I don't know. I'll know soon. Depends if I'll be walking when I come back. So let's see. And then on the weekend, what are we doing? We're just, I guess, traveling to different parts of Sri Lanka, meeting up with different family and things like this. So
do you go out? You're not like a social.
No.
You're not social. Because I was going to tell people on your super chat to chuck in a few dollars for a beer, but clearly you don't need it. Do you need it for taxis? What do you need it for?
Yeah. Chuck in a few dollars, guys, for some gin and tonics. I saw, $10 is like 1,000 rupees. So your contribution, even if you make a small contribution towards the Ruksha Sri Lanka fund, it actually ends up being more when you switch the currency around. So it's worth it if you want to help me out, guys.
Guys, like and share this live stream. Before we shut off, we're going to read these last super chats, and I'm hoping we hit that 10,000 with just a couple of hundred off. It's frustrating. So guys, it's up to you guys. But it's already getting late here, almost 10:30. What time is it for you?
It is 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Oh, wow. That's funny because we started at 7 our time here and it's almost 6 there already. I guess because you're 5 hours behind. All right, read Giovanni's super chat.
Thanks, mate. The US sniffs too much Chinese influence in Oz. That's true.
Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you, Giovanni, as usual, for your super chats. Catherine.
Catherine says, lucky us mix don't allowed snack bar. That could mean a lot of different things.
I am not going to try well. Here you go. Look at that. Regina gave you for your gin and tonics. How much is that in?
That's 200 rupees. But it's
what can you get for 200 rupees there?
You can get like common stuff like fruits and vegetables, things like that is accessible. But actually, hotels and stuff is very expensive. It's more expensive than Australia, I think.
Lucky you're not paying for any, or do you have to stay in hotels in some place? You got family?
Not as much. Yeah.
If I go to Sri Lanka, do I have somewhere to stay? Like, will your family take us in, or
they would take you in? Yeah, for sure.
Will your grandmother do my toes as well?
I would.
Rukshan's wife sent me a video of Rukshan's grandmother. What was she doing?
She's cutting my toenails.
She was, and like if any of you have seen Rukshan's toenails, you'll know how brave his grandmother is.
My foot has been injured for weeks now, so when I landed, the first thing she saw was my toenails, and then she made it a point, she's in her 80s, and she made it a point of cutting my toenails.
So let me ask you something. So if Ma'am Rhonda went to Sri Lanka on a holiday, a romantic holiday, or whatever, maybe not romantic, whatever, just a holiday. No, it'll be romantic. It's Ma'am Rhonda, and we can afford to get there. Can we stay at your family's house? Yeah. And do I
authentic Sri Lankan experience?
And do I get the authentic, like the grandmother doing my toenails? Like if I don't cut my toenails for 3 weeks before, will she do it?
I'm sure that they'll happily cut your toenails. Can be arranged. People in the comments are saying you can't cut your own toenails. It's not that.
Exactly.
I haven't been able to walk for 3 weeks, so it's. My foot has been numb. It's hard to explain what it's like.
No, that makes no sense. You couldn't walk for 3 weeks, so you couldn't cut your own toenails. How does that make any sense? That's not adding up. The truth is, after the invitation you've just given me, I'm going to fly to Sri Lanka, and I'm not going to cut my toenails for like 3 months before that because I want the service as well. Here we got a new super chat from Cruel Intentions.
200 rupees for your happy ending at the physio, mate. I'm not going. We're not like Thailand here. It's a bit different.
They don't have it.
It's not strictly legal as far as I know.
Is it not legal there? Is prostitution not legal in Sri Lanka?
I don't think so. Not in the way that it is in those countries like Thailand.
What do you mean not in the way? It's either legal or not. Is it legal in Sri Lanka?
I don't think so. I've never looked into it anyway, so I don't know.
You're just guessing. But the area you're in right now, that's quite Catholic. But the rest
It's
of
all
the
Catholic, yeah.
but the rest of the country is Hindu or Buddhist.
Buddhist. It's like 80% Buddhist. But even here, like they're doing it's all like Buddhist festivals at the moment. So everyone's celebrating the Buddhist festivals.
Oh, even in the Catholic area.
Yeah, everyone's doing all the Buddhist.
Why is it like it's like cultural? Like it's more cultural rather than it's like Jews celebrating Christmas in Australia.
Yeah,
it's
like
Australia. You've got to
everyone's involved.
You've got to pick me up on that because the kids are they're gonna get me. We are we're 100 and 100.
You really want to hit the 10,000?
I really want to hit 10,000, guys. Like and share the stream. Just get us to the last. We've got 180 to go. So share the live stream. Encourage people to watch it from the beginning because in about 5 minutes we'll be done this live stream. But I just feel like it has to hit that 10,000. It's been a great show, and I want to say firstly, thank you to everybody that tuned in tonight. Thanks to Rukshan for tuning in, even though he's out there on holidays. He has gained some respect. I know a lot of you guys watching this don't have much respect for Rukshan, especially after he found out that he made his 80-something-year-old grandmother cut his toenails. But respect to him on holidays. We've got jumping in twice a week, and today's show is 3 hours and 40 minutes. It'll be 3 hours and 45 minutes. But thank you for everyone that's tuned in, that's liked, that's shared, that's commented, that's super chatted. I feel like we're actually growing something here. What do you reckon?
No, I think, just kind of consistently doing it. I really like the fact that we can see the chats now. More people are involved in the conversation. It's more free flowing. Great having a guest. Sometimes I do believe that still, but just, you and I can, go through news topics, chat with the guests and share some of our views and opinions. I think it's good fun. And I think it's only...
I feel like we should do a segment. I reckon from now on, we should do a segment with a guest, but not have them the whole time. So do 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because sometimes I find it gets a bit hard to unpack all the news when you have so many people in the on the panel.
Yeah.
Because then you've got to get three people's opinion on every single thing we watch. I'm actually liking the format where we take all the big stories, watch a report if possible. If there's no video, then we just read the article like we did tonight, 2 articles. I'm loving it. And we are 150 people off 10,000. Guys, share. And if you have ideas of people you want to see for these 10, I think that's what we're going to do. 10-minute, maybe 15-minute segment in the middle of a show where we pick one of the issues that's most suitable to that guest to unpack with them. What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree. I was trying to see if I can get a photo up of where I am, but just to kind of keep time going, but it's a bit hard to do.
I think we're gonna. Should we call it or should we just let it hit? Should we let it go? Should we let it go? Let's put something on. Let's get one thing on. I'm sure there's something I can find. What was the name of the person that they wanted us to check? All right, let's go. Let's find something to. What was the name of that guy that they were telling us we should know?
Norman Gunston or Rob Wright?
Which one was the one we didn't know?
Norman Gunston.
Norman Gunston. Here we go. Let's watch one of those. Oh, and there's a super chat there waiting for us. That's good. So we're under 150 to go. So it's up to you guys. Let's watch another Norman Gunston. I want it with some. Oh, let's see this one. Okay, hold on. I'll just make sure that thing's on there in case there's. 1 second. Yeah, I think it's gone.
I got a phone call. It was the producer of the show saying, "Come to Gore Hill immediately. Get your costume. We're going to Canberra. Gough Whitlam's the Labor government's just been dismissed."
Who is standing there at the top of the steps?
Is that
Norman
him?
Gunston,
Oh, no.
a fictional reporter aspiring to a gold logie, and he's
You're not showing it on the
participating
screen.
in that
You're gonna show the
seminal
screen.
moment of Australian history forming that.
Sorry, I'm tired after
aspiring
that
to a
minute.
gold
Hold on,
logie.
let's bring it. This is interesting, actually, from a.
I got a phone call. It was the producer of the show saying, come to Gore Hill immediately, get your costume. We're going to Canberra.
Is that him? That's
the
him?
Labor government's just been dismissed.
I think it's him older.
Who is standing there at the top of the
him
steps?
older I recognise.
Norman Gunston, a fictional reporter aspiring to a gold logie, and is participating in that seminal moment of Australian history, forming that, being part of it.
It is just so improbable that a comic like that could be there at the moment.
He was standing right there, breathlessly commentating. That was just the perfect place.
Oh, look, it's a bit too serious for that.
It certainly is. Oh, no, I quite agree. It certainly is. It's extremely serious.
It's still to this day something that is hard to wrap my head around. Even as I'm saying it, you think of what that event was, politically speaking, is just monumental.
Is this an affront to the Constitution of this country? Or was it just a stroke of good luck for Mr. Fraser? Thanks very much. Just wanted to know.
And I thought then, as I think now,
pretty funny.
that was so Australian.
Yeah.
That I think we always struggle to work out what is our national characteristic. Well, I believe it is that when things are darkest, we still find a way to take the piss.
Well, we don't have that anymore. That died a long time ago. But that would be funny just to see. Let me see if I can find the original of that. That looked like banter stuff I would have done. Guys, we are we're at 92 to go to hit the 10,000. So it's up to you guys. Let me see if I can find the actual. Oh no! Yeah, here.
There's an enormous spontaneous sense of outrage, Bob. You can sense it.
Yeah.
It's coming from everywhere. These people have assembled in a very short time. There's 99.5% of them would be supporters of the Labor government.
He's trolling.
Too serious for that.
It certainly is. Oh, no, I quite agree. It certainly is. It's extremely serious.
I think you're sending me up.
Oh, no, I'm not. No, I want... No.
It's only because you're so serious and so genuine that I'm...
No, what I want to know is, Mr. Hayden...
What I want to know, is this an affront to the Constitution of this country? Or was it just a stroke of good luck for Mr. Fraser? Thanks very much. Just wanted to know. Mr. Whitlam, I thought he was going to talk.
I appreciate that. That's
it's interesting because someone actually said he was on a TV show called Mother and Son, and now I know who he is because I grew up watching that. But I was so young, but they used to play on TV all the time, Mother and Son, and we did used to watch that as children. But I didn't really know the actors' names and stuff. I was too young to kind of know all that, but I do remember that now. So there you go.
Yeah, the comments are like Riot saying the OG troll reporter, like 100%. That is like. That's the kind of the inspirational stuff that I would have loved. I would have loved to be a part of that back in the days when you could get away with anything. That's fun. I appreciate that. And what was it? It was the super chats that got us onto that tonight. But it's funny because when they interviewed him when he was older, him I recognised, but the young version I'd never seen him in my life.
Yeah.
The the people saying the ABC was good back in the days. Yeah, if it was today, I would so do that old trolling, and I find that Aussies are great. Like when it comes to trolling people and having a bit of a banter on the streets with the average person, Aussies are, because I've done it around the world. Aussies are really good to do it with, because they give it back. They've got a sense of humour. Like, I wouldn't want to try to do that in Germany. Although in Germany, you're not even allowed. You know, you can't film there on the street like that. Like, there's privacy law. Yeah, the laws there are insane. The privacy laws. So, I'm pretty sure you can't even do streeters like that.
Wow.
So, which is bizarre. You'd think that, I guess, you know, that's the freedom that they're protecting more, the freedom to one's privacy. Okay, we are 48 until 10,000, so we're gonna have to do this, guys. Share the stream one last time, and here, read this super chat while we're hitting
From
that.
Daniel Zimmerman, the tech support needs tech support. I think that's commented towards me. Guys, I have a very simple setup. It's literally just I have an ironing board. I wish I could show this. I have an ironing board with a laptop, a mic, and a light on it. So I'm literally in a room with an ironing board.
Is that still the most high-tech room in Sri Lanka right now?
That is the most high-tech room because I'm not in a permanent place, so there's no point like setting it up properly. I'm always moving around. So I'm moving in a couple of days from this place to somewhere else. So there's no point trying to set up anything fancy. But I do wish I bought an LED light to put in the back so I can have a blue wall or something.
The color, exactly. We missed the colors. We'll read some of these comments while we try to hit that 10,000. Oh, we're about 38 from it, and it's jumping from there. So, guys, share it. Don't go. You're going the wrong way. Yeah, that's better. Go up. Loved Avi's buddy's shoe store. What are we talking about? Avi knows what right wing and hates. Avi knows I'm right wing and hates acknowledging the truth I speak. Oh, that was Les that was attacking me in the comments last week. Oh, we're 25 off, guys. We're 25. Keep it going. If you want, smash through your last super chat, because as soon as this hits 10,000, we're going to check off. Really appreciate everyone's tuning in tonight. Huge numbers. Let's read some of these comments as just the regular comments, unless somebody super chats. We'll jump to that. Show us your grandmother, Rukshan. She has to sleep. She's probably been hospitalized from having touched your toes.
I'll try to put together a little video so we can play it next time of what I've been up to. Who knows? Let's see.
That must be. Please don't read out my bad humor, Stu. 25 to go, guys. Rukshan, get
ASIO to get you a better ironing board. I am not an ASIO asset.
I don't know. Regina, thank you for sharing. Regina, I think you've just knocked up the numbers. We're 18 away. 18. Guys, if you want to super chat, this is your last chance. Otherwise, I think we're pretty close. 91. 9 to go. 9. Let's see. 10. Oh, it's gone back down. 10. No, 11. No, wrong way. Somebody share it. Oh, 93. There's 7 to go. 7 to go. Listen, how long have we been streaming? 9 in 3 hours and 51 minutes. And are we going to hit 10th? Oh, I've gone down to 94. Come on. Who did we bore? This is so difficult.
I think people are messing with us now.
Yes, they're going in and out. No, they go 9994. We got 6 to go. We got to 1, and then
we're gonna find a way of showing the overall count.
Yeah, I know, because this is like, and this just feels like at this point a goal. 99999. Are we good? Yes, 10:06. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I had to, for my compulsive OCD. I needed to make sure we hit that 10,000. Appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in tonight. Make sure to like, subscribe, share this stream again so people can watch it from the beginning. I think it was a really good night. We covered a lot of stories. And make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit those notification bells. Last words, Rukshan?
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining in again. And, of course, you can find me at The Real Rukshan on X, Facebook, YouTube, and on my website, www.realrukshan.com. Look forward to catching up with all you guys again next week. So it should be fun.
Thank you, Forrest and Freedom Podcast, and everybody who super chatted us tonight. And also Les in the comments condemning me as we're shutting down the podcast. God bless and good night.
See you guys.